No, I love Tool. Who doesn't?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, December 16th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1095.
This is No Agenda.
Grooving to a Green New Deal and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're expecting another Zephyr beater, and I'm predicting a 9-car train. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
No, you can really tell you got to get out early today. Just tossing away lines there. Not even trying, man. Nine car Zephyr beater, please.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The number of cars has been varying during the Christmas season. Actually, from Thanksgiving on, there was a 10-car trains mostly. Generally, it's an 8-car train.
Uh-huh.
But I'm noticing a few 9-car trains coming by.
All right. And do these include the passengers, or is it all passengers? Or
it's all passengers, except for there's one car that appears to be a baggage car.
Oh, fabulous. Well, I'm not quite sure what is going on, but I do know that you need to get out on time today. And I'm thinking that's because you obviously have some work to do tonight.
And that might be what?
Well, even though you said you gave up the beat, I think you got to go back on it.
Well, for the first time ever, a transgender woman will compete for the title of Miss Universe. This competition takes place this weekend in Bangkok. Angela Ponce, Miss Spain, says she's proud of her role as a pioneer.
I think that mindsets are changing. Today, there are positive references. People speak about the LGBT community and the transgender community. Before, it was always underground and never spoken about. I think that people are more and more informed. All these prejudices come from disinformation.
Ponce says she entered the fashion world a decade ago, and she's been in beauty contests for the last 3 years.
She's gorgeous.
She is, isn't she?
Wow.
And I love the dress.
Oh, God. There you go. The first transgendered participant in the Miss Universe contest.
We've been predicting this for years.
The question is, will she win?
No. For one thing, there's a couple of things. I'll just give my predictions. I may or may not cover this. I doubt it. But because I already said we're going to stop doing this. But here's what's going to happen. I've seen enough of these. She's maybe going to get into the top 5 so they can ask her a question so we can hear her voice other than the opening voice.
Yeah.
But we want to see what kind of a brain she has, so they'll ask her something. It'll be lame. And then she'll end up, I don't think she'll be first runner-up, but she'll probably come in 3rd or 4th or something. She may be just knocked out. She doesn't have a very, I don't think, and I'm not even going to get into it in any details, but I think she needs to be nice if she had a little smaller waist.
Oh,
a little chunky.
Oh, you've actually done your diligence, chunky.
Somebody sent
John,
me a bunch of clips.
You can't say chunky. This is you should know better than this.
Well, it's not chunky in the sense that what we think of as chunky.
Oh, okay.
But by the beauty pageant standards, I'd say yes. No, I mean, real chunky is more, it has an American style to it.
Right.
I just don't see it that being that interesting.
Yeah.
She'll get as far as she gets, which will probably be, maybe in the top 5. She may be bumped at, after in the top 10. They bump them. She's got nothing special going on. She does have the advantage of not having to do like in the certain competitions where you have to have a skill.
She doesn't have a skill. She doesn't have.
I don't know if she has a skill or not, but she doesn't have to.
You don't need to do skills in this competition.
Or a violinist.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I'm not that jacked up about this.
I'm still interested. I didn't say I was jacked up about it, but the bookies, the odds makers are saying she's got a good shot to win. At least the ones in the UK, but they like to hype everything.
There's no chance in hell she's going to win.
Okay. Well, you're the official aficionado, and
if they're taking bets on this, I'd bet against it.
All right, good.
Sorry, right, so what do we got other things going. I was watching the Leave It means Leave It convention of all these. I got to get some clips. I'll get some clips for the next show.
Brexit.
It's fascinating to listen to these EU Brexiteers give their little speeches, and it's interesting. They have stuff in this 500-page tome that Theresa May wants to use. I'm in agreement with a lot of these. They say, what's the point of any of this? Why should we be giving $39 billion to the EU? Let's just walk.
Yeah,
let's walk from the deal.
Everyone's
people
talking
walk
no
from
Brexit,
deals
no
all
deal.
the time.
Yeah. Everyone I talked to is saying it looks like it's going to be a no deal Brexit.
That would be the way to go.
You want to hear Tony Blair real quick? He weighed in.
This guy's off.
He's not helpful to Theresa May's plight. That's for sure.
What leaders were saying to me when I first started having this conversation a year ago, they would say to me, "Yeah, but it's never going to happen, another referendum." I think the mood has changed in the last couple of months.
Do over.
And now people are saying, "Well, could it really happen?" I need to get the European leaders to the next stage, which is to realize the probability is it's going to happen, and they've got to prepare for it. Because one important component in any such refought referendum will be whether Europe is prepared to meet what are not just British concerns around the issues to do with immigration, but are European-wide concerns. And I think you could put together the right type of deal, if you like, which wouldn't just be about Britain, it would be about Europe and accepting that, for example, freedom of movement of people in Europe has got to operate in a way that's fair and just, doesn't undercut wages. There's not going to be no deal unless there's a combination of accidents in government and in Parliament that I can't foresee. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but why would Parliament do that? There's a massive majority in Parliament against no deal. They're definitely going to prefer a referendum to no deal. So I don't think no deal is not the worry. The worry is that we end up with a kind of botched Brexit, which is frankly this deal that's on the table at the moment.
So he's still pushing for a do-over.
Yeah, him and a few other losers.
Globalists. Big globalists.
Globalism is all it is. I mean, we just give up our sovereignty. And we're done, and the EU can tell us what to do.
It's not even that. He's
Brussels will make the rules.
He's not even that. He's back to the freedom of movement. The freedom of movement.
Yeah, that's the only thing, the only sticking point. They seem to have this freedom of movement.
It's because it requires a work visa in different countries. Like I had needed a work visa when I lived in London. I had to have a visa. This is very normal. So
did you get one?
Yes, of course I got one.
Well, was it a pain in the ass?
I didn't feel free in my movement.
Well, there you go.
Because I had to fill out a form.
You had to fill out a whole form?
Yeah, and you'll have to...
And it take hours and days?
Yes, and everyone's going... No, everyone's going to have to fill out forms. Oh, this is what it's going to be like for traveling.
The EU has confirmed the introduction of the ETIAS, which will become operational in early 2020. ETIAS stands for EU Travel Information and Authorization System.
Jawohl.
All eligible travelers, regardless of age that visit Europe from 2020 onwards, will be required to obtain an approved ETIAS online prior to their departure. The new requirement for European electronic travel authorization, such as the ETIAS, is to strengthen EU border controls. Travelers will be required to complete an online application form that covers a range of biometric, travel, and security-related questions. The ETIAS application will then be electronically processed within 96 hours, and the authorization will be delivered by email. Travelers' data will be checked against European and international databases, including no-fly lists to identify potential terrorist and criminal threats, will then be refused entry via the ETIAS.
Sounds like the same process for coming to America to me.
Travelers that fail to obtain an ETIAS will not be permitted to board a plane or cruise ship to an ETIAS member country. Visitors with a valid ETIAS will be available to travel to ETIAS member countries.
This guy wraps it up in a great way.
Which include popular European destinations such as France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and 18 other countries. For ETIAS news, launch updates, and travel alerts, visit etias.com.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Etias.com. It's riveting stuff.
Wow.
Etias.com. Yeah, so it's like same thing we have.
Yeah.
Is it like
So
you
what else is
fill
new?
out a
So
form
how
when you
hard-
buy your
how
ticket.
hard can it be?
Yeah. All right. So you had a clip, something?
No, I got
you had nothing. Oh,
I
okay.
just have discussion.
Ah,
I brought my discussion with me.
okay.
I do know that the situation is getting dire, and it's not being helped by anybody. And I think they should just go with the no deal Brexit and just get out. The longer this drags on, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah, there's all kinds of issues with the no deal Brexit, though. And even though it's making
I'm armed, by the way. I'm armed with this information from the Leave or Not Leave conference. So
tell me, what are the consequences of a no deal Brexit?
nothing.
Okay, then how do we do trade with the EU? I'll just be
The same way
British.
the United States does, or the same way Norway does, or the same way Switzerland does.
Right, but we don't have a deal in place yet.
Sorry?
We don't have a deal in place. We don't have
What do
a
you need a
trade
deal for?
agreement. Huh?
What do you need a deal for?
You need a trade agreement, don't you? Don't you need a basic trade agreement or not?
I buy stuff from Europe, and I use other systems, and the stuff comes over. I don't have a trade agreement with the EU when I buy my PG tips.
Oh, come on.
that come
You know,
over
now,
huge
don't be an
boxes.
idiot. You know there's customs. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, even when you order something through Amazon from the UK.
Yeah.
I don't know what conference you watched, but it was lame.
No, it wasn't.
You got no answers. I'm asking you a serious question.
I'm telling you the answers. That is the answer. The consequences are minimal.
Said the man who lives not there.
I don't live there.
That's what I mean.
At least I'm beefed up on the info based on the leave it or not leave it, or leave it means leave it conference.
All right. So what was your takeaway from the conference?
That this is a lot of nonsense. We just got to, what am I saying? I got nothing to do with it.
I don't know. You're getting pretty tight with those levers.
I was all jacked up by it. It's just get out. Get out while you can.
Well, they've certainly seemed to scare the British public into thinking that is the worst possible option. As witnessed, Tony Blair just told us so.
Well, that's one of the things that this conference dealt with, is the fear mongering.
Right.
And this guy owns like this one pub, the pub king of England, who owns like 1,000 pubs. This famous character, Tim something. I'll get some clips for the next show.
He was a big supporter of Brexit early on. I would think we have a clip of him somewhere from years ago.
He goes on and on about how this is a bunch of fear mongering. It's got nothing to do with anything, and you just scare the public into trying to do a redo because you can keep doing that over and over and over again until somebody doesn't show up and they win. I think the whole thing is, after listening to these characters, all of both sides of the aisle, I mean, Labour and Tory folk, Irish and non-Irish and Scots and everybody else in between, they think the whole thing is a scam. There's this fear-mongering. And the pub guy goes on about how the Eurozone was created and all the nonsense that went on with that and all the fear-mongering and the fear-mongering of the Brexit vote itself. The stock market was going to collapse and the economy is going to go into a tailspin if you voted yes. Nothing happened. The pound lost some value.
Yeah.
All the British bankers are going to leave. Nobody left. In fact, they got more people working in London now than before. It's just one thing after another. This is something of a fraud.
Well, then the fraud is the 39 billion euros. That's the real fraud.
That's the one they really, all of them got into. Is what is the point of giving them 39 billion when what it's doing is saying the no deal Brexit means we've got $39 billion in our pockets.
Right. Well, wait a minute. That's even if you have a no deal Brexit. Who they still pay the 39 billion euros?
No, in the UK pockets because you don't have to pay the 39 out.
Wow. Well, we've certainly been led to believe that this is not possible.
Well, it just doesn't sound that way to me. Listening to these guys.
Well, you're the only one. I wish you'd brought a clip.
Well, I'm sorry. I was listening to it this morning before the show, and I did all my clips already.
Oh, okay. So this is going on as we speak. These guys. There it is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars, Zephyr. Just to show you.
I'm so happy.
Oh my God!
God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
Well, since we're talking about getting in and out of countries and the paperwork you might need for that, things are changing rapidly in Gitmo Nation proper here in the United States. Something that I already identified over in Europe on my last trip, and it seems that the airlines are all on board and starting to crank it up here.
Smile, your face is now your ticket on some of Delta's international flights out of Atlanta. That means from baggage check-in through security and onto a Delta flight, many passengers will never take out an ID or look for a boarding pass.
This is going to be an entirely biometric concourse where customers through facial recognition will not need paper anymore.
How does it work? If you're flying internationally, you need a passport, which means your photo is in the U.S. Customs database. But instead of showing your passport when you check bags or go through security, as flyers have done for years, Delta's biometric system will already know you're scheduled for a specific flight. So when you stand in front of the camera, facial recognition software will quickly verify your identity, which means going through an airport should be easier and faster for travelers, who will no longer have to spend time looking for and showing their paperwork to ticket and security agents.
So much time.
Remember, this is for your convenience, and we have women on the street to ask who will confirm this.
If you can save a little bit of time up front and get people into that queue faster, then hopefully this is making the airport screening process that much more efficient. People spend a little bit less time waiting. It's a little bit less stressful.
Other airlines are also testing facial recognition systems for boarding passes.
Stressful.
It's much less stressful because you don't have to think about all your paperwork and having your ID in one hand and ticket in the other. It's for you. Don't you understand we're making your life easier? Be quiet.
Passengers. And the private firm Clear uses biometrics to identify travelers at many airports. So it may not be long before showing your ID and boarding pass will be a thing of the past.
I like being quicker. There's always the invasion of privacy sort of thing that you think about. But
yeah, dude, like I'm so sad of that.
Safe and quick.
Just listen.
How is showing your ID and showing a ticket an invasion of privacy?
No, he's talking
as opposed to your face.
That's what he's saying. He's saying that he finds this to be kind of nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you misunderstood there.
Be a thing of the past.
I like being quicker. There's always the invasion of privacy sort of thing that you think about, but safe and quick.
We love it. Sign us up. We'll be first in line.
Yeah!
Adding biometric screening for domestic flights may take a little bit longer since travelers are not required to show a passport in order to buy a domestic ticket.
No, actually, you're not required to even show identification by law. You have actual freedom of movement in the United States, but we're just going to make it sound easier for you, so you just use your face. No documentation needed.
So there's no immediate database, but make no mistake, they will get to work on that. Biometric screening, Becky, it is rapidly coming into how we will be boarding flights in the future.
Oh, it's great. It's just great.
You made a point that needs to be reemphasized. We do have freedom of movement in the United States. There's only one or two people that push the envelope on this. You do not need any ID to get on an airplane.
No, you don't. You'll probably miss your flight because they'll hassle you, but you don't need it legally. But this
is all a scam. We've been scammed. This is the same thing going on in the EU. They're scamming the public.
But you know what's happening is almost overnight. It's happening so quickly. Face recognition is being introduced everywhere. Hertz now does it for renting a car. It's just going to be everywhere. It's going to be, our lives will be filled with facial recognition.
Fingerprint.
It's worse than a fingerprint because
it's worse than a fingerprint, but it's like our fingerprint insofar as, and people resisted the fingerprint thing.
Well, this is because we're all used to cameras and we're docile now. You know, it's like, who cares?
Whatever you say.
Facebook has all my information. They've got my pictures anyway. But this is, this is a very, like if you fingerprint, you can't see a guy's fingerprint as he's walking down the street or he's in the mall or any place. And you know that this is now taking place.
Well, the other thing that I believe is going on with this sort of thing is fine-tuning the systems. So the accuracy just increases because the sample size gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because they keep using it.
Already, I'm very impressed by facial recognition. It really is. I mean, especially if you have the right camera for it, the technology is actually pretty
good.
Pretty
now,
damn
there's
good.
A couple of things you can try.
Mm-hmm. Hat.
Apparently, you can take a picture of an eyeball, and you put it between the two eyeballs, or you can put two eyeballs.
You have a third eyeball? Is that what?
A third eyeball would work, but you can say, "Hey, I have a third eye. It's my religion." You can put a copy of eyeballs above your brow.
Stop. Just stop. This is the official No Agenda TSA evasion kit. And it consists of a third eyeball sticker that you put right on your head. This is yet another exit strategy.
I believe there's also some uses of glassware that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And makeup might or might not work, but
I want one of those glasses. I want one of those glasses with the googly eyes that are
the guys that fall out, the big eyeball.
Yeah, those.
I think that would be funny. But I think the real killer here, because they do, it's done through, points they have to identify, is the big Taliban beard.
I don't think that makes a difference. I think it sees right through. I don't think the beard does anything for facial recognition.
We have to look into it, but I believe a Taliban beard.
So the kit includes a sticker, a third eye sticker, a Taliban beard, and the googly eyeglasses.
Yeah,
we can get this made in China for 20 cents and sell it for $20. $20. We're going to be rich.
Another exit strategy.
We're going to be so rich.
I do have a TSA clip. Apparently, they're finding too many guns and luggage. They didn't mention. It's up to like a couple 100% the amount of guns that people are trying to travel with. Let's play this clip.
New today, TSA screeners have spotted a record number of guns at airport checkpoints this year.
We're number one.
Chris Van Cleve has the results of an 8-month investigation.
A loaded gun inside a carry-on at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. It's a scene playing out nearly 12...
Hold on a second. Did I just hear someone rack that gun 4 times or even maybe pull the trigger dry? Because if that was...
prop there, they were doing
while the voiceover says, a loaded gun... Oh, I wish I'd seen the video for this.
Gun inside a carry-on at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. It's a scene playing out near...
I just got to start that over. I want to hear that again. Racking the gun. Loaded gun, ladies and gentlemen.
New today, TSA screeners have spotted a record number of guns at airport checkpoints this year. Chris Van Cleve has the results of an 8-month investigation.
A loaded gun inside a carry-on at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. It's a scene playing out nearly 12 times a day at TSA checkpoints this year, more than 4,000 times so far. Almost always, the flyer says, it was a mistake.
It was just an oversight, man. Hands behind your back for me, please.
Video from security cameras and police body cams at DFW Airport shows some of the 211 incidents where a gun was found in a bag at a TSA checkpoint in 2017.
Well, you bought it like over online or something like that? Yes, sir. Okay. Well, that gun's coming back stolen out of Florida.
Just 10 airports accounted for nearly a third of all incidents last year. Police records from 7 of them revealed at least 3 cases where it appears the gun was missed by TSA screeners at one airport and only discovered on the person's trip home.
Excuse me, sir?
TSA had no trouble spotting what was in this 59-year-old's backpack, a loaded pistol, and several additional magazines of ammunition. In the vast majority of cases, it's men. 63% were white. Most ranged in age from their 30s to their 50s. But guns were found in the carry-ons of an 84-year-old woman, a 10-year-old boy, an airport worker, and a pastor from Texas who told police he forgot the gun was in his backpack. In addition to potential criminal penalties, the TSA will seek a fine up to $13,000. In practice, though, we found on average that fine's around $1,100. All of the people you saw in our story told police they didn't realize the gun was in that bag.
Yeah, and I think that's very plausible.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're traveling from, like, Texas.
Well, most of the airports were in Texas, it looked like.
Well, of course. We're the a-holes here. Oh, a-hole men with loaded weapons. Loaded weapons.
With weapons.
Well, everything is weaponized. I'll just take it back to technology for one quickie clip. This one blew me away that this is happening in the malls in California. I don't know which mall. What's KCal? Is that up near you, KCal 9?
I never heard of it.
The KCal is the TV station, I mean.
No.
KCal?
I never heard of KCAL.
Oh, then it must be Los Angeles.
It's got to
probably. So they have these. You've seen the stupid ass mall robots that. There's been a couple stories. It's a typical Wired story, or then maybe Bloomberg will chip in.
I saw a robot, delivery robot in Berkeley roaming around
on the street.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I'm driving back with Jay's the one who spotted. I'm driving back, dropping her off or something.
Yeah.
Picking her up. And she said, look, there's a delivery robot. And it's right on College Avenue. This thing's bouncing around, going down the street by itself.
Well, now, what did it look like? Did it look like Lost in Space robot?
Yeah,
or?
It looks a little like a Lost in Space thing. It's a small box. It's like a large, box with 4 wheels on it and a bunch of antennas and a blinking light. And it just rolls. The wheels are probably about, 4 inches in circumference or 4 inches in diameter.
Space Force.
So it's just the
funniest thing I've ever seen.
Well, so and this is also
the size of a large dog.
Well, I need to know more about the delivery robot. The robot in the mall looks a bit like, what is the thing from Doctor Who?
I don't watch Doctor Who.
No, I don't either, but I know the robot thing, a Talek something. Yeah. Well, that shows you how we're out of touch we are with Doctor Who. Daleks. The Daleks. Yeah, they got it. It's Doctor Who is a woman now. This thing has never stopped.
Oh, it's gonna, and she'll probably win the Miss Universe.
All right, so it looks like a Dalek, and it runs around the mall, and it looks completely just like it couldn't harm you at all. It's spinning. It's got lights. The whole thing is a joke, but it's not. This is what it's doing.
In fact, as far as robots go, this one is state-of-the-art, equipped with very high-tech cameras that are designed to pick up almost anything and everything as it roams the mall.
It's picking up video footage. It's picking up MAC addresses. So it's able to pick up a lot of information that humans just aren't capable of.
MAC addresses? This is what Google got excoriated for doing. So it's snooping on you. It's picking up your MAC addresses, and that's the unique
the phones and whatever else you got.
Network adapter in your phone. Each one has a unique MAC address.
Yeah, you can spoof it.
It's like an IP address, but it's a much longer number, and it's unique to your device. Well, sure, it's spoofable, but that's not the point. Everyone's being spied on.
Yeah, I know. It's disgusting.
And KCAL is indeed in Los Angeles. Oh, they deserve it. Los Angeles. Since when is this just brought as, oh, that's fine, that's okay?
Because it's a cute little robot roaming around, bouncing around.
California
I asked Jay about
it.
She knows about these robots. I guess she's seen a few of them in Berkeley. I said, what if somebody just go over and kick the thing? Because it'll fall right over.
Right, that's what you'd think.
And she says, there's people watching these things, and they go back and they put them back upright again, and off they go. So what good is the robot? You have to have a robot handler.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The fact that they're doing this just says a lot. And by the way, today, is it today? I think it's right around this time. Maybe it was on Thursday, was exactly 1 year since the FCC voted out net neutrality. How have we done? Is your Netflix slow?
All hell's broken
Is
loose.
your Netflix slow? Did you get a call?
I got gigabit now.
Do you have to call your
Netflix
ISP?
Is working better than ever
to get a package deal so I can actually listen to the No Agenda show. Has that happened yet, everybody? Has it happened? No,
but it's going to.
Oh, it will in California. You guys got net neutrality. I can't wait to see how that actually packs out or unpacks. There's all kinds of stuff in California. We didn't get to talk about this on the last show, but I do want to get your feedback from this proposal, which sounds like an onion story, but just peeling back the layers gets worse as you learn more about it.
California Public Utilities Commission set to vote next month on a proposal to tax your text messages.
State regulators say the money would be used to support programs that provide phone service to the poor. It's unclear how much, though, that you'd have to pay per message. The wireless industry and business groups are fighting the plan. They say that it could cost phone users an extra $44 million a year. They also say the proposal is unfair because services like Facebook's Messenger and Apple's iMessage wouldn't be hit with this new fee.
Everybody in Cleveland, low minority got Obama phones.
keep Obama in president, you know? He gave us a phone.
That's where it all started. It's a crazy idea.
Well, it's a flat fee. And when they went on to Man on the Street, I wish I had some of these clips because I saw many of them. It's all these dingbats. Oh, well, you know, if it helps poor people. Let me just understand. What are they going to? Because the cell phone bill, if you look at it, there's at least in the United States, there's all kinds of surcharges. $5 on top of everything else fee that you see on your cell phone bill.
Yeah,
that is an additional fee. It'll be called something, you know. It'll be something like $4 to $5.
But it's not.
Nobody will say jack about it because they're used to paying hundreds of dollars for this stupid phone every month.
But is it based on your text message usage or just one? Oh, okay. So they're they're presenting it a little skewed then.
Yeah,
because I haven't heard they're going to tax you retroactively for all the text messages you sent. And the thing is, you and I are probably the only people left in America using SMS text messaging.
Is that what we're using? I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, when you when you text me about the newsletter, that's pure SMS text messaging.
Oh, okay.
And everyone else is using iMessage, you know, circumventing the whole system, locking themselves in, I might say. Man, this iMessage, it's hard to get off of it. Once you got all your friends with iMessage, then you go away, then all of a sudden you get kicked out of the group. You can't do group messages with anybody.
SMS is the way to go.
Of course it is. Open standard.
Open standards, open source.
But it's it's not open. I don't know if it's open source. It's a standard.
Open source.
Open source. Okay.
All right. So I picked up talking about the dingbats out there, which I think is somewhat thematic. I picked up this. There's a show that I never heard of, and then I started watching it. And it's done by the Farrelly brothers, or by at least Peter, and which is a couple of movie guys who get into TV once in a while. So they did a show specifically. This is the worst show in terms of distribution you'll ever, if you can even find a copy. You have to bootleg a copy. It's only on AT&T Uverse, and it's an AT&T produced show for AT&T.
It sounds like a winner.
Yeah. Well, the show is quite funny. It's called Louder Milk. It's gotten onto its third season. But I do have a scene from it to show you what kind of typical Farrelly brothers kind of gag there is. This is Louder Milk's vocal fry gag.
And do you need to set this up? What am I going to see here?
It's a guy, the lead character is waiting in line at a coffee shop, and then he runs into some girl with this vocal fry thing, and he just goes off on her.
What can I get you?
I'd like a large coffee.
Okay, so hot coffee?
Hot coffee.
Okay, room for cream?
Totally leave room for cream.
Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
Because this is my voice?
This is my voice.
No, it's not. I heard you talking a minute ago. I know you don't talk like that.
Neither do you, because nobody actually talks like this. You choose to talk like this, and today I chose to talk like this. Pretty fucking annoying, isn't it?
Why are you so rude, man?
Just stop doing that.
I can't help it. This is my voice.
No, it's not. It's an affectation that annoying teenagers and rich people use to sound like they don't give a shit. Except you work in a coffee shop, so I know you're not rich, and you don't look like a teenager. Unless you're Eunice Kennedy Shriver, knock it off.
So just because I talk like this means I don't give a shit? And what exactly am I supposed to not give a shit about?
That's an excellent question to ask yourself in your actual voice.
Excuse me. Some of us would like to order.
Fuck everybody.
You're a total dick, man.
There you go. Good. You're talking.
Wow.
Vocal Fry.
So these are issues that need to be addressed more.
And we do need to remind everyone, the original vocal fry queen is the Berkeley Hummer.
Exactly.
In fact, I'm going to see if I must have a clip. Here we go.
Jill Abramson.
Yeah.
And I think what's funny says rich people
who don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit. is actually, I never thought about it, but that is Jill Abramson's kind of attitude about stuff.
Here she is, the original Berkeley Hummer clip from years ago.
Chief, among many other things, she joined the Times from the Wall Street Journal. And
this clip is from 2011.
1997, Jill Abramson, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim.
First, just on the personal level, what does it mean to you to become the executive editor of the New York Times?
It means the world to me. I grew up here in Manhattan, and the New York Times was worshipped in my family, and what the Times said was true was the truth. And
you know, she's gotten much worse in recent years. This is not even.
I think
this
you're
bad.
right. I think she has gotten worse.
I don't know. I wonder if we have Jill Abramson. We must have a more recent one. Let me see. Jill Abramson on Clarence Thomas.
You write that this may be, in your view, an impeachable offense. What would make these events impeachable offenses?
Well, perjury is an impeachable offense, and there's no statute of limitations. And so I think that the evidence...
Yeah. All I recall is we went through this cycle, and it is now 7-8 years ago, and at a certain point it was a misogynist to even talk about it. Yeah, it's not appropriate apparently.
obviously, I read the New York Times like all day long, mainly on my iPad app.
That's the one. Hold on. That is the money shot.
Obviously, I read the New York Times like all day long, mainly on my iPad app.
iPad app. All day long. And she got kicked out of there. She got kicked out of everywhere. Where's she working now? Is she working at The Correspondent yet? That's where I expect her to show up next.
I have no idea. I don't.
That fine Dutch experiment. Yes.
Oh, that Dutch thing.
Yeah, I like those guys. I supported the Dutch version years ago when they first started. And they did it. Apparently they raised $2.5 million.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jay Rosen, that's your spokeshole?
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. Sorry, Jay, but no. Let's see. I have I do want to talk about the Green New Deal, as there was a lot going on. I see you have a clip, but if you don't mind, I'll just grab the COP24.
This is my clip. Climate meeting summary?
Yeah, but I got some specific backgrounders. I have a presentation to make.
Well, let's do the climate summary then, because this is from PBS, and it's very short. It's only 28 seconds. They wrap up the whole thing as though it was like not a big deal.
Negotiators reached an agreement at the United Nations climate talks in Poland today after more than 2 weeks of meetings. The talks were scheduled to end Friday. One sticking point was the rule for monitoring, purchasing, and selling carbon credits to reduce carbon emissions. Brazil raised concerns over the cost of buying permits from a central registry and the process of selling those permits. A rule book for the 200 nations in the Paris Accord was released for approval, and the countries will meet again next fall in New York.
Right. So this is, yeah.
Hey, if carbon's bad, it's bad. How can you sell credits to go back and forth and burn it anyway, or release it?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna answer questions I have no answers to, but I can only report on what's going on. And I realized I got actually it came from an email from Corey, millennial. Says, Adam John, born in 1988 in Wisconsin. Until listening to your show, I knew global warming was a fact. Everyone I talked with accepted it as truth. Your podcast was the only voice that even brought it up as a question. After doing my own research, I agree with your point of view. Thank you, from Corey. P.S. No Adderall, and I listen at 1.5 speed. Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, the kids like that. Here's what I realized. When the official Climate Gate started, and my goodness, we have jingles going back that are older than some of the people that listen to this show. Here it is.
To the gate, to the gate, to the climate gate.
This was the start of the falsification of documents. There was all this fuzzy stuff. The people who were in charge of the IPCC had deals on the outside. It was a complete mess. And we witnessed all of this. Most kids today, they were too young to have ever witnessed anything that's going on. But when you think about it, we have been through you and I, just because of age, have been through so many of these horrible, horrible things that are going to happen to us. And they've turned out to be not so true.
Yes.
And Secret Agent Paul sent me an end of show clip, which is a song, but I just wanted to play it now. It's not super long. I want to play it now because he kind of goes through all of these things, a number of them. And as I was listening to it, I came up with more that were hyped, that was supposed to be horrible. We're all going to die if we don't do something immediately. And then, of course, it didn't happen. And he put this to a very traditional track.
Can anyone here remember the hole in the ozone layer? Can you tell me where it's gone? I can't recall why, but I know we were all gonna die. We must have done something wrong. Does anyone know what happened to the gasoline shortage when the pumps would all run dry? The last drop would be gone by 1991, but now there's an ample supply. Does anyone here remember the Y2K bug? Everything was gonna crash. Every screen would be blackened, but then nothing happened. But someone made a lot of cash.
Yes.
It was gonna be the next ice age, but somehow we turned that page. We were all gonna freeze. Now it's up by 12 degrees. And the children run.
All right.
I want my...
So there's just a few examples of these enormously dangerous things to our society we're all going to die from. I just wanted to mention the Y2K bug. I had cash in the freezer. I had a bathtub full of water.
Well, I cashed in on that one myself because I had a special speech prepared that was about what a phony baloney deal it was because it never made any sense. And I should probably revisit the speech because it was funny. It would show that Y2K is going to cause tornadoes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
oceans are going to rise because of Y2K.
So it's important for the younger generation to understand that this is not new, except now your parents are all in on it, and they're stupid morons. They're not really thinking about how they're traumatizing you, how your teachers, your community, everyone around you is traumatizing you by saying we're all going to die from climate change, and, oh, yeah, we can't really do anything about it, or we're not, or we should do something quick. And, all the messaging that these kids are receiving is making them extremely ill.
I agree.
And so again, our stance on this is we're not just like some assholes who don't believe in science and grew up, like, oh, this is crap, man. No, we've been through, it was global cooling. We were all going to die. Same people, by the way, who now say global warming. Then we had the population bomb, the population explosion. Too many people, we're all going to die.
Everyone's going to be dead by the year 2000.
And by the time you're as old as we are, and I hope you reach that fine old age like a fine wine, you will too. Will go, well, this is a lot of crap that we got all worked up about. And the CBC, the current, this is the Scandinavian Broadcasting Corporation, did a special. And on this special about climate change, they had a guest. The guest is Margaret Klein Solomon. And she, of course, is involved in climate change. But she's not a climatologist. No, she's a clinical psychologist of the Climate Mobilization Organization. So they're now doing half-hour specials with psychologists about, so forget about anything that's true or not in science, how fast it's going to happen. Just listen to the setup, and then we'll get into a couple of clips.
My name's Deborah Harford. I'm the Executive Director of the Adaptation to Climate Change team at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver. A low-carbon resilient future is a beautiful one. A lot less noisy, polluting cars filling up most of our urban downtown areas. More parks, more areas for kids to play, more places for people to grow food, more shared spaces, more places where people can come together and enjoy their environment.
What?
I heard a very interesting presentation from a woman who works with small children recently, and so she asks them to draw. She says, if we carry on in how we're living in the world, what do you think the future looks like? And she said that without fail, they draw a world in which everything's on fire and everything is dead and everyone is sick.
Oh God!
So she's emotional just from hearing the damage that is already done, and I believe this to be true.
Damage to the kids.
Yes, the children are think that everything will be on fire and everybody's dead. Now, so this is a great piece. One of our producers sent it to me, and he highlighted is that you will not believe what's going on here, and he's right. So I chopped this up, a couple more, and they're all about a minute each clip, just 4 more clips. This is now we get to Margaret Klein Solomon, and she has, of course, solutions. It's all not just dire, as long as we do it within the next 12 years. Otherwise, the kids will still be drawing those pictures of fire, and everyone will be dead.
We are calling for a 10-year crash transition to zero emissions plus drawdown and attempt to achieve full spectrum sustainability across issues.
Remember, she's a psychologist, okay? She's not a climatologist, not a weather scientist. She's a psychologist. But she knows what to call for.
Idea being, this is not a problem. We are too late in the game for gradualism, right? To incrementally reduce emissions, or for individualism, right? The idea that I'll take care of my emissions, you take care of your emissions, and so forth. What we envision is a rapid transition of our entire economy and society with all hands on deck, as most recently happened in our history during World War II. So, for example, some of the policies that would come from a World War II scale climate mobilization would be the immediate ban of all new fossil fuel infrastructure and a 10-year timeline for retiring the fossil fuel infrastructure that we do have, coupled, because we want to keep the lights on, with a massive scale-up of renewable energy. So large government investment, creating millions of jobs to both reduce demand through things like winterizing homes. And
wait a minute. We're all going to burn, but the kids can winterize your home. No worries.
To both reduce demand through things like winterizing homes and just transform our energy system to renewable. We also, we also have policies in agriculture, transportation, and industry that we promote. But that's the basic scope.
All right, delusional. However,
well, this is not delusional. It's subversive.
Yes.
The system is the entire system of Western civilization at this moment is petroleum based. This is a subversive movement to bring down the Western cultures, to replace it with, this is the same as the anti-capitalist people. Oh, capitalism is bad. We need to replace it with what? Where are these jobs? What jobs are they talking about? It's not a winterizing jobs. Nobody needs, people do that themselves if they want to. They can put some gunite, in the house. The whole thing is so transparently subversive. It's beyond my comprehension is how it is allowed to continue like this.
Well, it continues for at least 2 more clips.
I have 3, by the way.
Yeah, and
I hope they're toppers.
This so now she's comparing it to World War II. We need a crash transition. What she means by that, and the whole piece is filled with, did your parents buy war bonds yet? Because everyone was all in on. We've got to support the war, everybody. And she thinks that we can do exactly the same.
Well, a great example is the victory gardens. So during World War II, 40% of American vegetables were grown at home in the front and backyard by the people that ate them.
Can you recall this?
I know about the victory gardens. I don't believe that statistic to be accurate.
You can eat it for maybe a month, but you got to have a pretty big garden.
Well, you'd have to do a lot of canning. Canning was popular.
Yes, it was very popular, yes.
You can do a lot of canning. But, it wasn't as though that the farms out there in the middle of the Midwest and elsewhere that normally grow vegetables stop growing vegetables.
What they want is they want us to eat that laboratory meat and bugs.
Bugs.
Right? We can farm our lawns and have community farms.
Farm your lawn!
Which increases, local food security, and also, you don't have emissions from transportation. Oh. But more generally, programs like transitioning industry. Right. So the United States banned the production of new consumer automobiles.
Great idea.
They said we need all of that automobile factory capacity to create our tanks and planes and machine guns. And so no more consumer car production. Period. Sorry. It's a fundamentally different mentality when you get into the mode of we face an existential threat. Everything is on the line. And so the government is going to do everything that it can. The government should spend without limit to save as much life as possible.
Again, she's not an economist. She's not a science climatologist. She's a psychologist. And I'm not so sure these are great ideas that she has. But it turns out in the psychology field, she does have a little bit to say about this idea of just a crash transition to immediately stopping using fossil fuels, stop driving, everything electric, because back in the day in World War II, people kind of liked it.
The people who lived through World War II on the home front often looked back at it as some of the best years of their lives.
And there you go.
Because they felt productively and meaningfully employed in a cause that was greater than them. And they felt connected to their neighbors and to their community and to their country and to their cause. And the hopefulness, yes, we need that, but it has to be based on reality and on telling the truth.
Oh.
And there is no hope for a smooth transition to zero emissions for over decades that kind of doesn't bother anyone. Maybe we could have done that if we had started it in the 70s, but we didn't. And emissions have gone up every year. And we need a crash transition to protect ourselves. And even if we do it, even if we execute the most austere and intense transition to zero emissions, we still might not win. You don't know if you're going to win a war before you go into it. It's possible that the positive feedback loops that we've already triggered will overwhelm even our absolute best efforts to get to zero emissions. But we're not even trying now.
See, this is the message that's being sent to kids by psychologists who should know better. But doesn't matter, because the best thing you can do is record those kids. Get their thoughts on climate change. Get their thoughts on the imminent death they face because their parents and the adults and Orange Man Bad won't do anything about it in Washington, D.C. Let's traumatize them a little more and ask them how they feel. With some cool piano music just to accentuate the vibe.
My name is Elizabeth Curran. I'm 10 years old and I live in Winnipeg. Being a young person, what I find most concerning about climate change is that, like, animals can lose their homes, like polar bears, if the ice melts.
My name is Arthur. I am 9 years old. I live in Iqaluit. It's a bit scary because I live near the ocean. And if there's a glacier that melts, it will make the water go close to my house.
My name is Ben Bizayon. I am 15 and I live in Montreal, Quebec. I think that it's time for the governments to do big things, but just because the governments are doing big things doesn't mean that people should stop doing small things. That everyone should just, without necessarily sacrificing everything yet, just do what they can to reduce the footprint and help us not be doomed.
My name is Meowta Stout. I'm 12 years old and I live in Winnipeg. The thing that scares me the most about climate change is literally everything. It's terrifying. It's kind of been pushed to the side, and it's just not knowing anything about it is kind of what scares me about it, and just knowing that it's gonna kill us if we don't do anything, which we're not doing anything. That's the scary part to me.
My name is Patrick. I'm 10 years old, and I was born in China, but now I live in Vancouver.
Spy.
Young children will experience far worse than the people living right now. It also scares me that floods, hurricanes, and other natural disasters are way more likely than in the past 5 years. I think grown-ups should think that we actually should make an impact and not just sit back and let it happen.
That's right, kids. Your parents aren't doing anything because the orange man isn't doing anything, and you are all going to die!
Embellishment.
Child abuse.
It is
child abuse. And add to that, your school can be shot up at any minute. Throw in a couple of antidepressants. You got a great party going on. It's going to be fantastic. Watch these kids do fantastically well in society.
Yeah, well, there's a interesting little thing I was noticing. There was somebody discussing homelessness and racism. It all stems from climate change. You know everything this, don't you? Anyway, the COP24, they finally came to an agreement. There's the new president of this thing, by the way, is some douchebag. He's, let me see what his name is. He replaced the old douchebag?
Yeah, he's a young douchebag. Mika Kurtia. He is the Secretary of State Government Plenipotentiary for COP24 presidency. A trained, whatever that means, a trained physicist, engineer, economist, specialist in international negotiations, expert in the field of energy, and the author of the government program for the development of electromobility in Poland. And it's almost like he's one of these .com kind of guys when because they have the big dais, and there's 1,000 people in the auditorium, and they went really late Saturday night and they got up early this morning, and they finally came to an agreement, and he jumps over the dais. Ta-da! You've got to see this video. Like he's Spider-Man. Yes, we have a deal. Kind of.
It is so decided.
The conference president did his best to whip up enthusiasm from delegates.
Woo! He jumped! I'm so hard!
There's been a lukewarm reception from observers to the COP24 climate change deal, agreed on Saturday by some 200 nations in Katowice, Poland. Mikhail Kartika acknowledged more needs to be done.
This deal hangs in fragile balance. We will all have to give in order to gain. We will all have to be courageous to look into the future and make yet another step for the sake of humanity.
A 156-page rule book fleshes out details on how to implement the 2015 Paris Agreement. I'm very, very happy, said German Environment Minister Svenja Schulze. This is the second time that the world says yes to the Paris Climate Agreement. In Paris, we said what our goals were, and here we agreed on the rules for getting there, and with the whole world. That's an enormous achievement. The target is to limit global warming well below 2 degrees centigrade. The rulebook covers issues such as how countries should establish and monitor emission reduction plans, but it's less clear on how a pledge of 90 billion euros to poorer countries will be financed.
So they're right back. No, damn it, Francois. The crazy American man, orange man bad. He pulled out of the agreement. Where do we get our 90 billion from now? NPR did a very well. Although the millennial is fantastic. The minute it gets into science, she starts saying right a lot. But she did explain the issues, and it's not just who's going to pay for it, Turns out they don't even know how to measure this stuff.
Well, this meeting is all about putting the Paris Agreement, that was the agreement back in 2015, into action. So every country made a promise back then to reduce greenhouse gases a certain amount, but every promise is different. So it's really hard to come up with a set of rules that everyone, we're talking about almost 200 countries, thinks is fair for tracking our collective progress.
What seems to be the principal sticking points right now?
Well, there are a couple things. On a really basic level,
Yes.
and this really is basic, countries still haven't agreed on how they are going to track their carbon emissions and how much information they're going to disclose to each other about their economies, which is part of that.
Just right there. They haven't even agreed on how to track it? Don't you just stick a tube in the air and it's like, 350 parts per million, we're all going to die. Isn't that how it's done? I mean, if anything, we've been taught and convinced by total repetition that this is we know they can measure exactly what's happening.
I don't think that's what they're talking about the ambient air CO2 constituency in terms of how much there is.
Then what are they
they're
talking
about? How much is being pumped in to the system from factories.
Well, they say they can't agree on how to measure.
Cars.
They say they haven't agreed on how to measure it. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think they don't know how to measure they know how much is in the air, but they don't know how to measure what's going into the air. I think that's what they're referring to in it.
Okay.
Because you're right. I mean, you can measure. I got a little device. You turn it on. You stick it outside. You can measure the CO2 in the air. It's not that hard.
No.
They're talking about something else.
Okay. Haven't agreed on how they are going to track their carbon emissions and how much information they're going to disclose to each other about their economies, which is part of that. And some countries are more private than others about their economies. So, for example, China. China is notoriously private. The U.S. actually is too. We don't really love to give extra information to other countries in the world about how we operate. So on the flip side, poorer countries are worried. They don't know how they're going to pay for the kind of in-depth analysis that it takes to track emissions. They want richer countries to help them with that and also to help them with paying for all sorts of things that come along with climate change, whether it be loss and damage or other stuff.
In the past, that divide between more developed countries and less developed countries on the planet has been pronounced to the point where there were different rules depending on if a country was richer or poor. Is that still the case?
Well, no, that did change with the Paris Agreement, and that's a good thing. So every country, regardless of how much the country has in its GDP, every country had to make a promise that it thought it could achieve to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. But there's still a lot of tension between richer countries and poorer countries. So, for example, countries in Southeast Asia, in the Pacific, and parts of Africa, they're suffering enormous losses already because of climate change. Right? So catastrophic flooding. Right. We see some of these things in the U.S. too.
This is where she goes off the rails because now she's going to have to defend the science, right? And that's all she can do. She makes a statement and says, right, because it's right. But that's what's subliminally going on in her head. Because she's got to be right?
In the Pacific and parts of Africa, they're suffering enormous losses already because of climate change. Right? So catastrophic flooding. We see some of these things in the U.S. too, but it's much more pronounced in other parts of the world. Islands disappearing altogether.
It's just gone.
Drought,
what
famine.
island is this? It's just gone. The island. I don't know. Islands are disappearing, right?
The U.S.
Left
too,
and
but
right.
Much more pronounced in other parts of the world. Islands disappearing altogether.
This is NPR, I want to remind you. Right?
Drought, famine. But those countries actually aren't the countries that have emitted the most greenhouse gases, right? Like, think historically, the Industrial Revolution started spouting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in the 1800s. So we, and that being the U.S., the EU, major industrialized nations who have been industrialized for a long time, are responsible for most emissions, and yet other countries are right now paying some of the price. And so the question is, what kind of, I'll use the term reparations, but we're talking about payments for that loss and damage.
What?
I think you can kill this anytime. She's just rambling.
Nah, just let me end it. I left it in here for a reason.
In the past, those have been on the table, but as of right now, and we're going into overtime here, there is nothing specific so far coming out of this meeting. So one of the big questions in the next, who knows, it could be a couple hours, it could be a whole another day, is what type of payment might we be able to get coming from richer countries and going to poorer countries for that sort of thing.
So the whole point for our younger listeners, take it from two old guys who've been around the block on a couple of these, this is not right. And when you hear all these douchebags sitting around in Poland and all they can talk about is who's going to pay who.
Who's going to gouge the Americans.
Damn it, they left. That's what's going on here. This is not about your environment. This is a money grab, and it's no different than how many billions was the Y2K scare?
Outrageous. It broke the huge. It didn't help. The dot-com collapse from the late 90s, and when the Y2K scare came along, it sunk the economy. That's how bad it was.
Exactly.
The economy went into a tailspin, in large part because of Y2K, but also in combination with the dot-com collapse. And then it was exacerbated by the 9/11 thing, and then we went going to a decade of no growth.
Yeah.
And that's what would happen with this. This would sink the world economy, and it would just be taking money from us and giving it to some people that are they don't even use it. They give it to their leaders, these corrupt leaders, and then they become rich guys living in Gstaad, Switzerland.
You know, as I was reading through all these documents, and I'm trying to get a copy of the rule book so we can understand what rules will have to be implemented, I said to Tina, I said, it's so odd with the Netherlands, which is about 25% below sea level, which is reclaimed land. I don't hear the Netherlands freaking out too much about, the islands are disappearing. How can we survive? Amsterdam will be underwater. You'd never hear them talk about that. And so I did one Bing search, and the first thing that popped up is that the UN climate panel had to admit they had exaggerated the Dutch sea level. They said in one of their early reports, 2007, I think, they said 50% of the Netherlands is below sea level. It could be 55. They're all going to drown. And the Dutch went, hey, stop that. We know how to manage our water. But this is never a conversation in the Dutch media when it comes to climate change. Oh, yeah, we're all going to die.
Have the conversation.
They never talk about the sea level, which should just drown everybody. So these are all the little things you got to pay attention to.
Well, the thing I think what you missed was the more interesting part of this, where they've decided, I think all the points you made are valid, and I think it's led to the next step.
Which is?
The next step, because they can't get enough traction. Yeah, we got every kid.
Well, just so you know, they say that they're in the phase they're in now, reading the documents, they're now in the political phase. They say, for some reason, now the politicians have to take. Yes, that's what they're calling it. This is COP24 moving into COP25. I think that's the political phase.
I think that's next year in New York, by the way.
Could be. So, yes, your point.
Well, the thing coming up now is the Extinction Rebellion, which just started in the UK, and it's catching on, and they had a bunch of these people at the COP20, whatever it was, with, of course, Amy is pushing this on Democracy Now! Let's listen to what this is all about. This is Extinction Rebellion 1.
We turn now to look at a UK-based movement taking extreme action to fight the climate crisis. It's called Extinction Rebellion. Its members have been supergluing themselves to government buildings, shutting down roads, taking to the streets to sound the alarm about the impending catastrophe of global warming. Extinction Rebellion marched here in Katowice last Saturday to protest UN climate talks. In November, Extinction Rebellion protesters shut down London bridges, blockaded the UK Department for Business and Energy, and attempted to interrupt Brexit negotiations.
Well, there you go. When you traumatize kids enough, this is what they start supergluing themselves to buildings. That's what happens.
I just thought the supergluing thing was a great idea. I had one clip where there was a bunch of people like you had, with one after the other complaining. But I decided just to ISO this one guy who is super glued to a fence, and he is screaming his objections and what it's all about. And this guy, I'm guessing, he's in his early 20s. He's bearded, I guess to prevent facial recognition. He's bearded, and he's screaming out what the problems are and why these cops and the nations and everybody's not paying attention because we're all going to die. And this is the worst case scenario. We're all going to die. Play this ISO.
The government is criminally complacent in the mass murder of all life on this planet, and I will not be silent.
Wow.
All life.
All life. Uh-huh.
All life on this planet, according to everybody in this group, is under attack. There's not going to be a living thing.
Well, there's a lot of stories. Didn't I even hear? Weren't you talking about that with Horowitz about less bugs? And he was like, I was driving across the country and I remember tons of bugs. Less bugs. And I'm like,
well, there's a couple. I want to talk about that. I got one last tip, but I want to mention the less bugs. I always have thoughts about the less bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things about less bugs. In California, when I was a kid, we used to drive. No matter where you drive, especially if you went from California or from San Francisco to Los Angeles and back and forth, you'd get a lot of bugs hitting the car. And at the time you got to L.A. or back, the car would be covered with bugs that you ran into.
Sure. I
was thinking about this because there are less bugs that you hit the car. But like when I drive my Lexus, for example, the SC400, and most cars, and I would ask people to do this experiment. Just stay by the side of the road and listen to cars as they go by. A number of cars that will go by, unless they got noisy engines, but let's say that they don't, you hear nothing. It's just whoosh, whoosh. And then there's a couple of cars that go by, you can hear the car penetrate.
Wait a minute. You're going to tell me because the bugs aren't hearing the cars anymore? I don't understand.
The point is that the aerodynamics of today's cars lift the bugs up and over the car's windshield.
They're bug friendly.
Because it's cutting through, because all these cars are aerodynamic. If you've ever been in one of these electric cars, those things are so aerodynamic. They're super silent when they go by. And that's the point I'm making about the silence, is that in the olden days, a 1955 Plymouth had no aerodynamics. It was just plowing through right against the atmosphere, and the bugs wouldn't.
Wait a minute. They had those fins on the back. That must have helped for something.
Yeah, the fins helped you. It helped you go in a straight line, and so the bugs would hit you more. I think that's what I think that's all there is to it. Because I've noticed this when I drive around. If I get going fast on the freeway, I see bugs going right up and over the car.
I don't know. Okay. So there's no bug apocalypse? I'm so disappointed. It's just the aerodynamics.
I think that we use more bugs killer. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think people are eating the bugs.
Let's get back to the Extinction Rebellion Part 2. Yes. Remembering now, they have one of the founders or one of the early guys.
Glued.
These people are involved. They have logos.
Well, they got a beautiful website, Extinction Rebellion, and it's a part of the Rising Up group, and they've got donations going.
Sunrise Movement's part of this?
I don't see them yet, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, they mentioned it. And the thing is, these guys have decided to take it to the next level.
All right.
And it's not that they were going to have a few islands disappear. All life on Earth will cease to exist.
A movement taking radical action to combat the climate crisis. It started in the United Kingdom just 6 months ago, is now spread to at least 35 countries. Extinction Rebellions demanding governments commit to legally binding measures to slash consumption, reduce carbon emissions to net zero by 2025. We're joined right now by Extinction Rebellion activist Liam Gary Balch. He just participated in the action here at the UN Climate Summit, not far from the Democracy Now! Set. It's great to have you with us, Liam. Even using words like global warming or climate change, people feel does not convey the urgency of this issue. You all have decided to use the term extinction. Extinction Rebellion is your group. Talk about what you're doing.
So we've been talking to people about the real science that we're seeing now, not in an alarmist way, but in a realistic way. We are now facing what could be the next mass extinction. We're already grieving over the lives lost, both human and otherwise, to climate change. And we're seeing and talking to people about the fact that we might now be facing human extinction.
This is what happens. This is what you get. Oh, brother. Yeah, you got me with that. I need to give you, I'm going to go back to my other cart wall for this. I need to give you a clip of the day for that.
Clip of the day.
And the topper.
So, kids, if I can call you kids, my stance, I think it's John's stance as well, that there's nothing wrong with switching to some other forms of energy. We recommend you look into nuclear energy. And please have a good look at Chernobyl, look at Fukushima, look at 3 Mile Island. Those are kind of the big popular ones. And see the damage that was done and the risk to human life versus the BP oil spill in the Gulf, the Exxon Valdez. Really do some research and see which one you'd be better with, which one is less dangerous, and then go and look at the actual benefits of wind and solar. There's something to be said for hydroelectric, but nuclear is a very good way to go. And new nuclear reactors,
great, but they condemn hydroelectric too, if you haven't noticed.
No, it's going to
ruin.
ruin.
It's damming up a natural river, and the salmon can't get there.
It's because they don't want you to think about it. They don't want you to have nuclear. They want you to buy into what they call the new climate economy. That's the idea. You'll be making solar panels. You'll probably be dusting off solar panels. That will be your good climate job. So this is you're being hoodwinked.
Yeah, the good climate job. Yeah, I think you nailed it. That would be the good climate job, a solar panel cleaner.
Yes. And please, politicians, people in positions of media prowess, stop abusing children for this. Stop.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I can say it as much as I want. Stop abusing your children for this. It's disgusting. They can't. No wonder pharmaceuticals are off the hook. No wonder everyone's on antidepressants. Look at what you're doing to them. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. So, there you go. Climate denier number 1. Hello, climate denier number 2. In the morning to you, the man who put the C in COP24, John C. Dvorak.
Well, first of all, I'm not a climate denier. I believe there is such a thing as a climate, and I think it changes naturally.
I think we're both on the same train there.
So, but I will say,
in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our troll room, noagendastream.com. Trolls all standing by, hanging in. Some dickish moves, but otherwise helpful. That's noagendastream.com. We also would like to say in the morning to Insane Mo, who brought us the artwork for episode 1094. The title of that show was Justice for Hillary. And this was something we don't typically do. It was a mashup. It was an embellishment of a Banksy piece of artwork.
We'll do it if we think it's legal.
Oh, it's totally legal, and I think it was very well done by taking the
Banksy thing with wearing the yellow vests.
Yeah, yellow vest, but then also adding Crackpot à feu, Adam Le Curie, and The Buzzkill Jean C. Dvorak. I mean, it was funny. It was a beautiful piece. Everyone liked it, and screw Banksy.
Banksy's not suing anybody.
Screw that guy.
I want to see Banksy in court.
Yes, I want to see him immediately. So thank you very much.
Banksy would approve. I'm absolutely convinced.
I'm sure he would. Thank you very much, Insane Mo, and thanks to all of the artists. A lot of good art that's being put in, and we certainly want to encourage everyone to keep doing that. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. We use it for lots of other things, including great merch you can find at the NoAgendaShop.com. So thanks again.
So we have a few people to thank for being executives and associate executive producers for show 1095.
Okay.
Starting with Sir Joseph, Baron of all of Southern California, who came in with an Insta-Viscount donation of $1,000. Viscounts are in.
It's the new Baron.
Now, Viscounts are the new Baron. So this is Lieutenant Colonel Vandersteen.
Yes.
In Southern California, who is a retired Marine.
Marine, yes.
He's our Marine.
And he gives quarterly, I think.
He's the Marine. There has not been a Navy officer to compare to our Marine guy insofar as supporting the show, if you haven't noticed.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the Marines are winning this battle between the larger service, which is the Navy. You'd think there'd be more people. We got the guy, the sub and the water guy, but that's about it.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong.
Most of the sub guys are cheap.
Well, you'd be too if you were down in the sub.
It's well known in the armed forces. The sub guys is all cheap.
He sends a very nice handwritten note, And of course, then he does it on A4 paper, and it's also some sort of a weird European paper. It's kind of creepy, actually.
Huh.
Please find attached our third and fourth quarter. He wrote this in longhand, and he has, I think, he's got, it's pretty until you try to read it.
Right.
Get contributions for 2018. Okay. Yeah, he does with quarterly. I missed my third quarter submission because I was attending my brother's fifth wedding, her first, God, in South Dakota. South Dakota. He went to South Dakota. My brother is a good man, but he seems to always be looking for the next ex-wife. Van something here. I can't read it. I hit him in the.
He's living in his van. Is that what he's living in his van? Is that what he said?
No, it's Van. Van's part of their name. I hit him in the mouth a few times, but I'm not sure he took. If he is listening, I'll know soon enough. I wonder. It was a douchebag call up, but he didn't say it, so I'm not going to do it. I would like to issue a challenge to the listeners who receive value from the show, but who do not donate. Time to man up. Chip in. Support the show and ensure John and Adam can continue to live in the lifestyle to which they have become accustomed, such as it is.
Such as it is, indeed.
Such as it is, yeah. I believe this donation allows me to step up on the peerage ladder to Viscount.
Nice.
Please dub me Sir Joseph, Viscount of all Southern California, if that title is not already spoken for. And it's not that I know of.
No.
I'm the head of the peerage committee. Thank you both for continuing to produce the show. We need you and the show more than ever. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you both and you and your loved ones. I remain your faithful listener.
Yes.
Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi.
Joseph Viscount in waiting of all the Southern California. P.S. John, the A4 paper was just for you. Hope you enjoyed it. P.S.
You did.
Please send more health karma. So you must stay healthy to help support the show.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Sir Joseph of all of Southern California. Baron now, but Viscount later on in the program. I'm looking forward to your ceremony, and here's your health karma. Thank you again, sir.
You've got karma.
Hello?
I do want to mention he did send a cute card, Christmas card, although it was really about the Marines. This guy is a Marine.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Like one
Marines,
of those.
Marines. But again, I don't see any Navy guys.
No.
Okay. Chris, was it Grill in Monroeville, Pennsylvania?
Monroeville.
What?
Monroeville.
Yeah, Monroe. 3333. And if you give me 1 second, I will do what I didn't do earlier, which is blow this up a little bit so from a distance I can read it. I have a trick. Okay.
I'm just visualizing what you're doing.
ITM, John, with regard to the newsletter, it looks like Gmail is moving it to the promotions automatic filter. I have moved it out many times, but they still seem to do it occasionally. This happened with the most recent newsletter. When I saw your second email, I was looking, and sure enough, it was in promotions. I also agree with your assessment that recent shows have been among the best. Adam, I would like to ask a favor of you. I will be heading to the Netherlands for work and will be staying in Veenendaal. The entire month of January. My smoking hot wife will be there with me for a week, and I was hoping I could get some suggestions of where to take her while we are there. Please keep up the great work and have a Merry Christmas. Can I get some respect and a Nancy Jobs karma, please?
Well, regarding Veenendaal, my number one tip would be to get out of there as soon as you can. There's really nothing going on there, and you're not really near anything good.
How far is it from Amsterdam?
Well, nothing's really far from Amsterdam, depending on what time you travel, but you need to go to Amsterdam, clearly. What I would do is, if you're on the tweeters, or maybe your smoking hot wife, tweet me Remind me of Veenendaal, and let's see if we can get some Dutch producers to hook you up. I'm sure we have people who live near there. They might be able to show you a good time. But otherwise, get a car.
Yeah, it's actually a nice country to drive in.
Oh, I mean, as long as you're not driving during rush hour, it's fantastic. It'll be good. So
there's a lot to see. You can drive. In fact, from where you are, you could probably drive over half the country.
No, in an hour.
An hour.
Just be careful of the water, Before you know it, you're going to drown.
Yeah, you'll be drowning.
RESPICT.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Matthew Hertert, 33333. Sorry about the hiatus in support. It's been a grim few years, but I wanted to try to help you boys and Tina and Mimi have a nice holiday. If you have time, I'd gratefully accept some surgery karma and some business stays afloat while vital while rehabilitating karma. Happy New Year, and keep up the good work.
Wow, yes. Business stays afloat and vital while rehabilitating. Okay, it's loaded up. Here's the karma cannon.
You've got karma.
Thank you, Matthew.
Sir Jonathan of the double-bladed paddle, $300.11. Thanks for the show. NJNK 73s KE0 IHT 73s. Sir Jonathan of the double-bladed paddle.
Yeah, 73s. Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie Charlie. Oh, this is a good one now. And it's actually it's not really good because Chris Wilson sent in, I think, he falls under the Australian rules, right? Australian and Scandinavian rules?
Yes.
You want to reiterate those?
Yeah, if you're this is because of the recent when we had the economic downturn in 2007 and 8. The Canadian money and the Australian money became worth more, and it stayed that way for quite some time into the show's era. And then it started to go a normal way, which has become worthless. I mean, Canadians 75 cents now.
That's the normal way for them? Is that what you're insinuating?
It's the normal way. It just happens. Rarely are they at parity with the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've fallen behind, and we gave the offer out. Look, it's $1 to you. Yeah, it's a little less to us, but it's still $1 to you. You should get at least credit for $1 if you donate an Australian dollar or a Canadian dollar. So it's $1. So if you donate 300 Canadian dollars, you get $300 in credit towards. It's
really we just have pity on them.
I don't know if it's pity. It's just like
they got destroyed. They got destroyed by the banksters.
The game, and then they fell behind. I felt bad about it. Yeah. I have a place up near Canadian border, and you go to Canada. It's great shopping.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned.
Well, with your American money, sure it is. It's fantastic.
Great shopping with American money.
So Chris sent in like a script.
Chris Wilson in East Lakes, New South Wales, $231.91, which is probably $300. Yeah, he says, please find my executive producer. Chris
it's actually 33330. Yeah, 33333.
Holy mackerel! You telling me 33333 comes to 231?
Yeah.
Oh, brother,
that's sad, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's the way it is. He says, with the current exchange rate, you are more than entitled to call them shrimp. Firstly, could you please de-douche my beard?
Interesting.
He's long-haired, kind of hunky guy with a douchebag beard.
He looks a little bit like our very own Chris Wilson, to be honest, in Australia.
Oh, does Wilson look like that?
Yeah, even a little rougher, though.
I'm shocked to find that Sir Chris has a douchebag beard.
Douchebag beard!
Well, I reneged on that because I've seen his picture since, and it's more of a Taliban beard.
Yes.
So it's not a douchebag beard. That's different. It's not easy sporting the Sydney inner west safe space hippie look at my age. You tend to slide past the styling of Dave Grohl and rapidly descend into Ted Kaczynski homeless hermit territory. In fact, this was brought to my attention the other day when I went out to some coffee. You see, I have been doing renovations at home, some plastering, in fact. I figured that I'd get a decent coffee at one of those hole-in-the-wall coffee houses from a barista with a douchebag beard. So I wandered down, purchased, and promptly consumed my first cup. It was really, really good, sensational even, and I took a moment to myself, standing there on the street with my empty cup, staring at the cup, quietly contemplating whether or not I should go for that glorious but occasionally treacherous second hit of caffeine. When I was rudely woke from my meditation by some generous soul throwing a $2 coin into my empty cup. Now, I don't know if it was the wild hair or the douchebag beard or the fact that I was covered in plaster and building dirt, along with me standing on the street holding an empty cup. Someone suggested it may have been the shopping trolley of scrap metal I was pushing.
We need a picture of this, man. Come on.
But with the crazy real estate prices around the inner West, you've got to take advantage of what you can to make those mortgage payments. So if you would please de-douche my beard, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, well, we just did that. Well, I'll do an official de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
There's your actual de-douching.
Thanks to everyone on the Soshnets who say that I do the best jingles. I appreciate it, but you're misled. Secret Agent Paul does the best jingles. I just do the most jingles. Special shout out
and by
to
the way,
John Fletcher and Sir Isaac Pegot, White Knight of the Shocking Truth, for those jingles just then. We really do have the community. You have the best community. Sydney, meetup anyone? Hit me at douchebag@natriggerwarnings.com. Could I please have a fuck cancer and some karma from my musician friend Mark's partner Nettie, who's recovering from some radical surgery? Well, there's now one less arsehole in the world, but not the one we wanted to lose.
You've got karma.
He says, can you please give me a don't eat me Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm.
And some goat farmer karma for all. Thank you all. No homo. Hang on. Maybe a bit. No, wait. Is that the cute little frog in my pocket?
There you go, Sir Chris, the drunkard minstrel from Australia, who has indeed done fantastic. And, he calls them jingles, but jingles to me are little things like, like that, or
parodies,
or a short thing. Yeah, these are really more parody.
The best one is the Dvorak.org/NA. Play that. That's a jingle.
Yes.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Catchy earworms is a jingle. Parodies of songs are not jingles; they're parodies, and
they're just masterpieces.
Well,
that's the way I see them. Yes, and thank you very much, Sir Chris, homeless man there in Australia.
Please don't eat me, Donald Trump.
You've got.
Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that goat!
Karma.
There we go.
Listen to that goat. Andy Cantrell is in Wamberal, New South Wales. He's a neighbor, $229.97, which is $500 in American money. In fact, wait a minute. He had
this is interesting. He
31. That's interesting because
he got a worse rate.
Same thing. My third contribution at 333.33, but he got gypped.
Yeah.
Having recently finished working on a U.S. drug commercial shot in Sydney, I finally have funds to make the leap to knighthood. I've been listening since the 2016 election. When I asked the question at a party, why do we really go to Iraq? And it was directed to the No Agenda show by douchebag Jeremy Rowe.
Right.
I have never looked back. Commuting 4 hours a day to Sydney, with my many days off, I often get to listen to 3 old episodes a day. The No Agenda show has no equal, and I hope you do not underestimate the importance of the work you two do. I encourage all No Agenda listeners to think about throwing a few bucks towards the show. We pay money for crap every day, and this show is worth keeping on the air. Please may I be knighted Andy Cantrell, the old school lefty of Terrigal Beach, NJNK.
Well, thank you, Andy. I look forward to your knighting ceremony at the round table. And indeed, what a jip, man. It was a couple bucks less than Sir Chris's $333.33.
Yeah.
This is insane.
I thought so.
Time to move to Bitcoin.
Sir Brian Baronet of the way it's going, we're getting nothing. Sir Brian Baronet of Northern Connecticut, $212.12. humbly requesting a new human resource karma for a brand new baby.
Ah, yes.
Abigail Elizabeth, my beautiful wife, Gina, like Jenna, like Jenna, did a wonderful job bringing her into the world on 12/12. That's JC and Jesse's anniversary.
That's right.
Anniversary, 12/12. Thank you for your courage, Sir Brian Baronet of Northern Connecticut.
Yes, congratulations to you and your beautiful wife, Jenna, and welcome new human resource, Abigail Elizabeth.
You've got karma.
All right. There's Jennifer Tegnerud, who's the Viking mom in Redwood City, $200. Sorry for the lack of donations. I hope this measly $200 helps fund the show that I will be downloading and listening to on our long flight to Sweden this Monday. I've been in contact with her, and I'm expecting a report.
Oh.
I will do my best to get pictures of the no-go zones for the newsletter, but to be honest...
You're sending her into the no-go zones of Stockholm?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't be hurt. You're Swedish. I don't want to leave it says, I'll do my best to go to the no zones, but to be honest, I don't want to leave my mother-in-law's house over there with civil unrest in Europe. Wow. But I will bring my pepper spray and hope for the best. Wishing you both a happy holiday, or dare I say it, a Merry Christmas, or God Yule from Sweden.
Skål. Yes.
God Yule.
Yes. Yeah, God Yule. Skål. Ja, ska die. Yes. Exactly. Well, thank you, Jennifer, and please be very careful. Before you know it. Those no-go zones, man. Although I was told they don't exist.
Well, I was told they don't exist, but I was also they do exist. But my take on it is that you can go there, but if you're a cop or you're someone with a camera, you're taking movies there or something, they'll go over and beat you up.
Yeah, well, all I know is that when I was walking with my daughter in Rotterdam, with her girlfriend, they lived together, and they were, we're all walking down the sidewalk, hand in hand, and then we crossed one street, and they let go of each other's hands and just walking next to each other. And I said, yeah, this is where we don't hold hands. This is kind of like a no-go zone for us here. In Rotterdam, the Netherlands.
Yeah. You brought it on yourself.
I did. I did. Okay, I take full responsibility. I'm sorry about all that. No. All right, that's it, right? That's our execs and associate executive producers?
These folks. These are our executive, associate executive producers for show 1095.
Thank you very much. These are the credits that you desire. All of you can use them because they are official. You are either an executive producer or an associate executive producer of the No Agenda Show, episode 1094. Display it loud and proud. Anywhere that credits are recognized, you will get places with this. Go ahead, try it out. People put it on their LinkedIn. It does seem to work. And we'll be thanking more people, $50 and above in our second segment. Please remember that we do have another show coming up on Thursday, perhaps with a report from Thailand, but certainly with more media and news deconstruction. Remember us at
Dvorak.org.
That's a jingle.
/NA.
And now that you know what a jingle is, you can take that knowledge, go out there, and propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order. Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
So what's this report from Thailand?
On the Miss Universe competition.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yes, it's in Bangkok.
Oh. Well,
I called my buddy Michelle. He's over there, and he's one of these British guys that goes to Bangkok all the time. Fishy, sure. Very fishy. A lot of British guys do this. And I call him up, said, "Hey, are you there? You're going to be at the?" He said, "What are you talking about? I just left Bangkok. He's now in Phuket. He's in the islands." I said, "Are you crazy?" He says, "Oh, if I'd known that, I would have stayed." So let's see if we can get a report, maybe just by watching it. If you're up to it.
Anything's possible.
And while we're on being douchebags about stuff.
And now it's time for your sexual harassment update.
There, of course, is always something going on in the Me Too, in the hashtag Me Too movement. Not all of it good, but something that we surmised about, and I think and don't remember exactly the conversation, but I'm pretty sure we predicted this would happen. as we now have a full sweep across the board there to CBS with Les Moonves out. And actually, there's a couple more we even forgot about. And here is the result. I'm pretty sure we predicted this.
And David, in your reporting, have you come across people who believe there's a climate at CBS, entertainment division, and parts of the news division that foster sexual harassment and maybe even sexual assault?
John, do you think there's a climate of that over there at CBS? I mean,
absolutely.
Well, you know, the most glaring example of this in many ways is Fox News under Roger Ailes, but this is very disturbing coming from
CBS. Hey, hold on a second. You changed the topic, douchebag.
That was great. It comes back to CBS. I just thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Well, you know, the most glaring example of this in many ways is Fox News under Roger Ailes, but this was very disturbing coming from the top. Les Moonves had been essentially running CBS for 2 decades, and if you look at what happened in the news division as well, the fact that Jeff Fager, the former executive producer of 60 Minutes and former chairman of CBS News, has been accused of sexual harassment and tolerating a culture at 60 Minutes of that. The fact that it turned out his predecessor, Don Hewitt, according to revelations, had essentially sexually assaulted former subordinate and colleague, female subordinate, so severely that CBS ended up paying her what totaled up to $5 million over the years in payments that apparently have still been going on as recently as this year. It's hard not to think that there's a climate that is not only hostile to women, but hostile to the idea of accountability for this kind of behavior, at least until these revelations now.
And is a merger on the table?
It certainly looks likely. Shari Redstone is the controlling owner of both CBS and Viacom. She has wanted to merge these sister companies once more, reunify them. And the main obstacle in her way was Les Moonves and the corporate board at CBS that had been supporting him. That board has changed. The sympathies toward Moonves' position has changed, and Moonves is gone. So it would seem as though the stars are aligning for her to be able to get control of both companies and to ultimately bring them under the same umbrella.
Gee, you don't think that was the plan all along, do you?
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
I'm pretty sure we discussed just that. Yes, I think we pretty much did. Yeah. So, and now
what? But money over there.
And what would the benefit be of bringing those two together? Is there any particular benefit? And why did she want it and those douchebags didn't?
You can futz with the books a little better.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true.
Confuse the IRS a little better. There's a lot of benefits. There's no benefits to the programming. But it'll probably hurt the network. I think the network is going to have a slide.
Do they have the Super Bowl? Is it CBS who has the Super Bowl?
Well, they rotate it, so that doesn't. There's no one network has.
No, who has it this year though?
I don't know.
Because I was reading about the halftime, which I think is 17 or 18 minutes. It's quite long. The halftime show is Adam Levine, Maroon 5. Which is, if you want to get a safe vanilla act for the Super Bowl, Maroon 5 is your band. But, what they typically do is they want to have other artists come out and participate, and no one wants to be a part of it. They're all worried about anything being insensitive at any moment to anybody.
Yeah.
So, and unless you have anything else, I'll close out the segment.
And this concludes your sexual harassment update.
Dan, you're up to speed.
I guess. All right, what do we got here? A little poisoning and a Hindu celebration I thought was worth discussing. I was thinking, play this Hindu celebration poisoning. I have a thought on this.
In India's southern state of Karnataka, 11 people died, including 2 children, after what may be mass food poisoning at a Hindu religious festival yesterday. More than 90 people were hospitalized after eating a religious food offering. Authorities say several people are being questioned about the incident. Police said that organs of the deceased victims have been sent to a crime lab for forensic analysis.
Huh.
I think it's a terrorist attack.
How many people?
11 dead and like hundreds injured. The big piece of news that nobody, and you probably don't have it, I don't think it was talked much about because it took place, I think, late on Friday. Classic over the weekend thing was played up a little bit. But did you know that Obamacare was repealed?
No. What was repealed, this happened in Texas, so I do know, and there was no repeal. That's not true. A a court in Texas said that the individual mandate was unconstitutional. That's not quite a repeal.
It's kind of if it's unconstitutional, it's kind of like
but it has to go. It has to go to the.
Technically, it's not a repeal. It's a repudiation.
Yes.
But let's play the clip.
A coalition of states with Democratic leadership is promising to appeal a federal court ruling that aimed to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act known as Obamacare. Late yesterday, Judge Reed O'Connor of the Federal District Court in Fort Worth, Texas, said the law's individual mandate, which requires all Americans to have health insurance, is, quote, unconstitutional, and that the rest of the act fails without the mandate. The law and all insurance policies remain in effect as the ruling makes its way through the courts. The case was brought by a group of Republican state attorneys general and is expected to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. This afternoon, on a visit to Arlington National Cemetery, where volunteers had placed wreaths on each gravesite, President Trump praised the court decision.
It was a big ruling. It's a great ruling for our country. We'll be able to get great health care. We'll sit down with the Democrats if the Supreme Court upholds. We'll be sitting down with the Democrats, and we will get great health care for our people.
For some perspective on all this on a very busy Saturday, NewsHour Weekend Special Correspondent Jeff Greenfield joins us now from Santa Barbara. Jeff, let's start with what could be the more consequential bit of news that happened last night, the court ruling. A federal judge says the entire Affordable Care Act is unconstitutional.
Well, when the Affordable Care Act was passed, it made every American either get health insurance or pay a penalty. When Chief Justice Roberts cast the deciding vote to uphold the law, he said, well, that penalty is a tax, and Congress has the power to impose a tax. Last year, Congress passed, and the president signed a bill that said, no more penalty. And what this judge said was, well, now that there's no penalty, you're forcing Americans to get health care. You, the Congress, don't have that power, and the entire Obamacare law, Medicaid expansion, subsidies for low-income Americans, protection from pre-existing condition bans, no more caps on the lifetime payout of insurance companies. All of that, he said, has to go.
Very skeptical.
There's a number of issues here. It was obvious genius to nick that one little aspect of the Obamacare system, just to get rid of that, which is you have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get fined. You can't get fined.
Well, well, hold on. Just to recall,
is Trump a genius?
The individual mandate was taken to the Supreme Court and deemed a tax and a constitutional method of applying it.
Right.
So nothing is. I don't know. This sounds like a bunch of posturing and bullshit to me.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a problem. But I want to remind people there's two things. One, I don't see how it's going to improve anything.
Nothing
Trump's
at all.
Full of crap. But I want to remind people that this whole system only began. This whole insure yourself. You got to have insurance to even see a doctor now. Never existed when I was a kid. It wasn't until 1973 when Nixon signed the HMO Act of 1973 that allowed the healthcare systems to make money. It was always illegal in the U.S. to profit off of healthcare until 1973. And ever since, all they've been doing is gouging us at the doctor's office, gouging us especially the drug companies that's the game they're playing, jack up the price of the drugs, so thus your insurance prices have to go up. It is a scam that Nixon started.
What was the legislation that changed that? Do you know?
The HMO Act of 1973.
Huh. And did that then also include all these restrictions of territories for insurance companies?
No, that came
later.
Evolved naturally.
And I want to remind people, when you hear insurance company, you think, oh, these people are looking out for me. No, they're bankers. It's just banks. It's just banks. There's nothing else. It's a bank. It looks like a bank. Smells like a bank. It's a bank. It's just another financial institution. But you
Nothing.
Go ahead.
Until 73, these big operations and phony insurance operations, all the rest of it's not insurance, where you have to have insurance, you have to have an insurance card to go to the hospital, you have to have an insurance card. That didn't exist.
And
the only thing that came close was Kaiser, and Kaiser wasn't profitable. It was just it was the Kaiser system it was kind of like an original HMO. and it was there as kind of an experiment in socialized medicine, and it worked. But there was no profit involved. And once they gave them the green light to make money, they've screwed us. That's why the American system that's why we pay more and we get less benefits from healthcare in this country than any other country in the world.
Yeah, and it's probably not reversible at this point because it's so much of the economy. And this is what people, I think, fail to realize. I mean, there's so much riding on this. So many people are a part of this, just working stiffs.
It would be reversible if we could brainwash the kids like they do with climate change. This would be a better thing to get the kids all worked up about.
And how do you suggest going about that?
Well, maybe getting some teachers that can teach the information that is valuable, and so far, instead of just knuckling under, oh, I guess my insurance rates have gone up again. What am I going to do? I mean, it's pathetic.
Yeah, maybe we should get a little of that French vibe going on. Some yellow jacket stuff.
All right, that's my little complaint for the day.
It's a valid complaint.
You think?
Yeah, the HMO Act of 1973. And I need to go back and look at that. Republicans again.
It was Republicans. It was supposedly doing somebody a favor.
Screwing us. Yeah. Well, the other part of our economy here in the United States is, of course, making war stuff. And we're very good at it. And a lot of our money...
We're the best.
We are foam finger up in the air, loud and proud, number one when it comes to making stuff that kills other people, particularly brown people in sandy areas. But how much money have we actually spent on it? The Pentagon failed their audit, which got, I think, a mention somewhere. Someone mentioned.
Oh, yeah. We should be talking about this.
They got a little mention.
They failed their audit.
Yeah, just a little mention about,
if you're giving somebody $700 billion, you think they'd have you think they could afford to hire a couple of guys that could monitor where that money goes?
No,
Is
they
that
can't.
Asking too much?
Well, Anita Crawford, who is chair of, what is she the chair of? She's here she is. Anita Crawford is the chair of Political Science Department at Boston University. She's come up with some numbers when it comes to the War Department as to just how much we spent on fighting terror. You want to have a little guess?
Fighting terror?
Fighting terror, yes. And of course,
$100 billion.
$100 billion. That actually was what was promised.
We wanted to help people understand how it is that the United States has used its resources since 9/11, and in particular, how when we were told that these wars would cost several $100 billion, they've actually cost into the trillions. And part of the reason for that is the spending occurs in other areas besides the Department of Defense OCO budget.
Right, and you've come up with a figure of $5.9 trillion, and that's so far since, let's say, 9/11. Is that the baseline of when you started?
We start with the 9/11 period, and we look at not only what the U.S. has spent in the overseas operations, the major ones, but also look at other operations that the United States has conducted. And in addition, we add the spending that's associated with increased military spending overall, because the Congress essentially has given the Department of Defense a blank check. And we also look at homeland security spending that's associated with counterterrorism, as well as the spending that's related to taking care of the 3 million veterans who've since returned from these wars.
And if somehow operations overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, wherever the multiple countries were operating in on what seems like some large, amorphous, connected effort, suppose that were to somehow magically cease at the end of, say, this current fiscal year, 2019, what do you think would be the effect?
If it were to magically end, and we know that the Department of Defense is planning on spending through 2023 at least, if it were to magically end, we'd still have to spend in these wars the interest on borrowing to pay for the war. Okay, even if we stopped today, we'd still be spending billions each year for interest on the borrowing. The United States military is accounting for more than 60%, or about 60% of all discretionary spending.
Woohoo! Now, that's what should get the kids all riled up about.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It's almost as if global warming is a distraction to keep the kids from
figuring it out. Yeah, from figuring it out. Because you're paying taxes. Your mommy and daddy are paying taxes if you're not. And it's not going towards fixing the world. It's actually going towards killing people.
Yeah. Bombing the world.
Yeah. Bombing it. We're going to bomb them. I have some very kind of sad news for the show.
What?
Well, you know how we've been doing transcriptions?
Yeah.
Tom Schuring, he's a Dutch guy in Australia. He's been so he's done transcriptions of the last 90 episodes of No Agenda.
Okay.
Now, and they're not great, and then of course the transcriptions include the clips as well, so there's a lot of strange stuff that shows up. But he did a word cloud. And so now we know what words are used most often on this program.
Trump.
Well, I'm going to... In total, 1,657,433 words were put into the word cloud. And I will give you the top... Let me see, is this 10? I think it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's the top 15. So we'll start down at 15. The word Republican was used 406 times in the past 90 episodes of the show. After that, Adam, 489 times. Facebook, 586 times. Podcast, 653. Democrat, 679. That's almost 200 times more than the Republicans. Winning the popular vote in our word cloud yet again. American, 727 times. Russia, 757 times. Shows you where our bread is buttered. John, 1,078 times that was used.
Why? Who uses John?
Me. You never talk about me. Clearly.
You're on the list.
Yeah, at 406.
Oh, no.
Then we jump from your 1,000 to Trump, 2,074, which is not as much as I thought it would be. But then at 8,000, and this is troubling, the word think. And I know where this is coming from, and we got to work on that.
What is it?
Because you say, I think. No, I think.
Oh,
I think.
No, we can't
say
this. I think.
I hate this.
We should be saying, I feel.
I feel, I dream, I envision, I posit. We've had a number of them. But
I posit. That's what I'm going to go for.
But I think is, that's what all these damn tech podcasts are doing all the time. Well, I think. No, I think. If I think, I think. So we have to be careful of that one. Okay. And then let me just go straight to the top two. The top two words most frequently used, respectively with 14,000 and 10,000 counts. Which two words would these be?
I and you.
Nope.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got? When you hear it, you're going to go, oh. The top two words are yeah and no.
Yeah.
No. That's the reason it racks up.
Yeah, no, the top two words, with no actually being number one.
No, yeah.
No, yeah. How about that? We need to work on that on ourselves. I found it to be very discouraging.
Well,
we try to pay attention to our words.
We do.
Now, again, clips are included in this, so it may not.
Yeah, no. That right there is racking up
you're
like
right.
Dozens of no's.
You're right, but still, we are the yeah no podcasters. Everybody, proud to be here. Yeah no.
Well, that's fascinating.
Come on, you didn't like that?
I did like it.
All right. Well, let me do a shopping tip then from NPR. Because, they love these little things around the holiday, a little shopping tip. Popular board games. And you might be surprised by the most popular board game of them all this season.
I want to ask you about a game that some members of our staff have clued me about. I'm uncomfortable with the title. Secret Hitler?
Secret Hitler is currently very, very popular, and it was really funny because when it first came out, they sent free copies to every member of Congress. So it's very, very popular on Capitol Hill because it got a lot of exposure and publicity through that publicity stunt.
What makes something called Secret Hitler a game? By the way, I want to point out the original made no secret, but go ahead. Yeah.
This is true. But in this game, there are different sides. One person is secretly Hitler. Nobody knows who he is. And then there are different sides that are trying to find him. And it's basically called a hidden role game because nobody knows who is who. And using deductive reasoning, you're trying to figure out who Hitler is and get rid of him. It's the perfect game for Capitol Hill, right?
Perhaps I shouldn't say.
I'm astonished by this report. Because if it wasn't for the
Orange Man bad,
if it wasn't for the incessant calling Trump Hitler, this would have been quite seen. I think it's quite outrageous. And maybe the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, would have said it's not funny to make fun of, to have a great little board game with Hitler, unless we all get to put on yellow stars as we're playing. You get to choose. When someone gets the yarmulke, someone gets the yellow star. I mean, why don't you take it all the way with your stupid board game? But yes, it's seen as funny now by NPR. I find it quite insulting. I'm not triggered by it, but damn,
you are triggered. You're not familiar with what triggered means then, because you were triggered right there. No, we witnessed it.
No, I'm not. Well, yes, I'm in denial. I'm triggered by it. I'm triggered by the fact that we've taken things like the word racism, the concept of Nazis and Hitlers, and we've just taken this to
watering everything down and make it an easier thing to digest.
Yes. Thank you.
We can now focus on real things that are important, like climate change and the extinction of everything on the planet.
It's the Extinction Rebellion, yes. Well, we can also take a look at what's out there. Richard Branson, his spaceship, was it Spaceship One, flew into space. I'm not quite sure I understand the euphoria over all this.
I don't get it either.
Here's a little clip of him just he's beside himself.
Obviously, after 14 hard years, to have taken Virgin Galactic into space is a momentous historic occasion. So what happened? This wonderful spaceship that's behind us took off early this morning on this beautiful day, attached to White Knight, which is a giant plane that we built to carry her. Went up to 40,000 feet. It then was dropped away from White Knight. It fired its rockets and traveled from 0 to 3,000 miles an hour in 8 seconds, piloted by 2 wonderful astronauts, and soared into space. And we could all see it just, from where we were standing, going up and up and up and up, and then obviously disappearing when it went into space. And then the now astronauts, which is quite exciting. We were pilots before.
Listen, 50 years ago, we put a bunch of people in a tube and they went up and they walked on the moon, and now we got to be all, as you would put it, jacked up over this? I don't understand. Why is this so exciting? Put a guy on the moon, then you'll impress me, Richard Branson.
Oh, I'll put a guy on Mars, then you'll impress me.
All the money. But are we crazy?
No, this is just a joy. They've created the world's most expensive joyride for rich a-holes, douchebags, that are going to pay, $500,000, $250,000 to $500,000 to take a ride in this thing. And that's why they're giddy. It's like, wow, look at the money we can make. Put 3 people in it, 4 people, there's $1 million in this sucker, and it's only going to cost us $500,000 to send them up.
But John,
make $500,000 in 5 minutes.
John, just explain to me, with all the money that Branson has, or even Elon Musk, just compared to the moon launches, the moon shot, I mean, that was no tech. I've been in the capsule, they had a couple of dials and a couple, basically sitting on a big ass rocket. I mean, if you have all this money, why would you fiddle around going into space and doing like a little nose over? Like, woo, that was fun.
That's a joyride.
It's a joy. Why not go to the moon? Doesn't seem like all that the technology they were using was all that spectacular, or was it?
Yeah, well, you can make that argument till you're blue in the face. I think your point's well taken that these guys are just, I don't know why they're so giddy either, because they can do it. I think it's because I think it's the joy over the fact that the after 50 years, the private sector can do what the government could do 50 years ago, using all the resources of the government. I mean, the government can put together a huge army. It has a $700 million military budget. These are things that private enterprise really can't do.
Right.
You can't spend $700 million.
Billion.
Or $700 billion. I'm sorry. You can spend I think Bezos is getting close to this. He could spend, let's say at some future point where he's almost a trillionaire, he could spend $700 billion on a giant military force and go invade someplace. But he can't do it the next year because he's out of money. Only a government can do it.
Space Force. I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Interesting how difficult it was for me to say billion.
It's okay. I got your back.
Eric Sleer. $123.45. These are the people that helped us produce show 1095. We're going to thank each and every one of them. They contributed more than $50. Maxim Kopelkin. Kopaikin. I don't know, something like that.
Maxim Kopaikin.
He's been a listener. Greetings from the broke lands of the Baltic states, Latvia. He's in Latvia. By the way, the new Berlin station, which series finally started in season 3, is about Estonia being taken over by the Russians. It's very intriguing. I've been a listener for 3 years now and was struck by the lack of donations for today's show, which I guess was a show or two ago. I have to sneeze. Can you read this while I sneeze?
Sure. I always hit all of my friends in the mouth, but they never listen. Bless you. The poor, talented, intellectual schmucks prefer alcohol and drugs and useless and self-flatulation as opposed to spending some intellectual hours with you guys and get, bless you, there it is, and get sane. It's been a hard road to finally come out as a douchebag and swap my amphetamine addiction for a donation to my favorite podcast. Wow. He wants La Vida. Yeah, or Latvia. I don't really have that. I don't really have that on hand. Okay, we don't have. But he gets a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
He says, hopefully the PayPal conversion doesn't botch the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It did well.
It didn't.
Perfect.
Sir Dirtbag Dave out of Concord also came in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He says, excellent show. Morgan Neck, 12250. Merry Christmas. Brian Tucker, Louisville, Kentucky, 10233. He needs a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
And he has a douchebag call out. He says, was hit in the mouth by a coworker 3 years ago, and he has seen the light. Please call out After Lodge Jason as a douchebag. Douchebag. Got it. Jason. Kevin Radu Pertuk, 10101. Outstanding work. Kevin Kobima. Coburna. Kevin what? Coburna. I can't hear you. Coburna. You can't hear me? Oh, Coburna. Kevin Coburna. No, I got to turn you up. Let me turn you up. Yeah. What happened? Did I go soft on you? You started talking softer. No, I don't think so. The connection. Renee Scheid in Momel, Arkansas. And it goes into Kevin Redacted's account. He's my husband. Oh, it's Renee. Hi, Renee. And your husband is Kevin. Oh, that's nice. It's his birthday tomorrow. Yeah. Aw, he hit me in the mouth 1.5 years ago. We love listening together and discussing all the topics. Thanks for being the best and only podcast I listen to. Well, thank you. We have him on the list. She says, yes, that's what she says. I thought she said to listen to. Sandra Shizuka. In parts unknown, as she's I don't know where she is. She needs a de-douching to my dear Hugo Pinto. This donation is my Christmas gift to him. Love and light to all the No Agenda community.
You've been de-douched.
Stephen or Stephen M. Taylor in Edmond, Oklahoma. $100. That was Sandra was 100 too. Sir Christoph, Baron of Buckeye, Arizona, 9090. Call out for his father, Renee, for his 90th birthday on the 19th, and we'll put some travel karma at the end as he's flying to Switzerland to spend the day with his dad. Absolutely. So love Switzerland. Neil Bottomley, 8008 in Barnsley, UK. Robert Doland in Shelby, TWP.
Township.
Township, Michigan. 8008. Robert, I haven't put an 8008 Easter egg in for a long time, but I'm getting a lot of these. Robert Wiltshire, 8008. Tex in Richmond, Virginia, 8008. Todd Pesick in Cottage Grove, Minnesota, nuts, 8008. Good shows. He wants a goat scream.
Got it.
Ian Odom in Weed, California.
Really? Really,
yeah,
John?
Weed. It's a big town. Weed's always been laughed at. 77. Brian Hasty in Hudson, Wisconsin. It's not a huge town. It's like Manteca size, I think. In Hudson, Wisconsin, which means pig fat, by the way.
Really?
Manteca means lard, technically. If you look up, put Manteca in the dictionary, in the translator, it says lard.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Brian Hasty in Hudson, Wisconsin, 7733. Demetrius Demopoulos in 6667 in London, UK. Sir Chris Abraham in Arlington, Virginia, 66.60. Abraham Daly in Raymond, Maine, 6565. Richard McGiff is 5555. He just punched my dad in the mouth.
Hey, Dad, careful with him.
Sebastian Louis de Haas in Myersbergen,
yes.
Bergen. 5555. Von Glitschka, 5555. Dan Pinkerton in Chula Vista, California, 5510. Derek Jagandinsky. Okay. In Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh, yeah. He needs a douchebag call out for Carl Stramitsky. Douchebag. He's been, what does he say there?
Listening since show 650.
Since show 650.
Never donated. Oh, well.
Yeah, you don't know. Maybe he's got a subscription. Devin Wood in Reno, 5510. By the way, I think you should check these things. I'm now of the opinion that you should check with the guy, see if he doesn't have a subscription before you douchebag him. William Fragaziglia.
Franzaglia. Franzaglia.
Yes, Cornelius, North Carolina. I clicked on every Hillary pick and no boob Easter egg. Bummer. Ivan Lynn, 5432. Thanks for all the help. Phil Colburn in Warramoo, Australia. He says he likes John's essays. And sending a whining email, what does he say? Doesn't make me donate. Well, he donated.
And he
anyway.
hates prawns.
Don't care. You donated.
And he hates prawns.
The whining email wasn't for you. Matthew Drury, 5150. Matthew Frank in Mentor, Ohio.
Oh, stop. 5150. Matthew Drury. There was a lot of talk about this. You put a Bernie Sanders Tool commentary in the newsletter. And the question is, are you a Tool fan?
I'm sorry?
That's what I thought. You didn't see you put the image in the newsletter, Bernie Sanders talking about the band Tool?
Yeah.
So people were like, wow, John's really cool. He's into Tool. And I think we just kind of dispelled that rumor.
Yeah, no, I'm not into Tool.
Yeah, no. See, there you go. Adding to the count.
Oh,
Stop it, man.
Point. Bang,
I think it's you.
It could be. Keep an eye on me. No, I love Tool. Who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Drury, 5150. Matthew Frank, Mentor, Ohio, 5115. Matthew Smith, 5100. 51.00. Judy Schwartz in Bernie, Texas, 5033. John, you are the greatest. She's the Baroness of Kendall County, and she should know. Andy Nolly, 50. These are following our $50 donor's name and location, if available. Andy Nolly, 50. Is a Merry Christmas to everyone. Bart Van Greensven in Heesvik Dinter,
Okay, would you like some help? Bart van Griensven in Heeswijk Dinter.
Heeswijk Dinter.
Very close, yes.
Brian Stewart, 50. Sir Chris Slowinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. He's got a pretty barren by now. I think Sir David Fugazotto is some higher level. George Wuchet in Universal City, Texas.
On behalf
of his smoking hot wife, Jewel.
All right.
John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. John Haller in Missoula, Montana. Jonathan Bell in Nari Warren, Victoria, Australia. I guess I got that. I don't know. Somebody has to correct me on some of these Australian things. I can steak and shrimp. Keith Yarborough in Austin, Texas.
Right down the road.
Micah.
Sir Micah Miller. We know this.
I can't remember it.
Sir Pete Snakes.
Pennsylvania. Pete Snakes in Amsterdam, New Hampshire.
Noord-Holland.
Noord-Holland. Pascal Seeley, parts unknown. Sir H in San Francisco, California. I can wave from here. And Trevor Hoagland in Portland, Oregon. We got a lot of good people today. I want to thank them all for helping make Show 1095 possible.
Yes, and thanks for all your interesting little notes. And we like all the Christmas stuff. I want to start, we're in the Christmas vibe now, so I'm going to have to do some end-of-show Christmas songs. And we like all the Christmas greetings back and forth or whatever holiday you want to
By the way,
celebrate.
Brian Stewart is actually Sir What's-His-Face over there. Oh. And because I screwed up that and didn't give him his name, he wants a Fletcher Putin at the end.
A Fletcher Putin at the end of what? At the end of the show?
No, probably at the end of this list where you throw out the jobs comer for people.
Okay. Let me grab the Putin then. Oh, jeez. It's one of those things that, where'd it go? Here we go. It's the Fletcher. Let me just make sure I have the right one. Let me see.
Don't worry. Be happy.
Sometimes, no, I think it's a...
Putin!
Yeah, there we go. That's the one. Thank you, everybody, for your support of episode 1095 and the work we do. We do put it in, and this is the value for value system that we have been using and built with you over the past 11 years. Value comes in all forms, many different ways, in clips we can play, artwork people put together, just ideas, resources, the emails, but also the finances. And we really appreciate everyone who came in as a producer. And also thank everybody who came in under $50 on the subscription. We're at a subscription level to sustain us, as well as those who would like to be anonymous. And yes, we have a couple of F-cancers and jobs to do, job karmas. Thank you again. Remember, we'll be back on Thursday with another deconstruction for you on the No Agenda Show podcast.
Dvorak.org/NA. Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And today is the 16th of December, 2018, winding down the year with a couple of birthdays for this week. Renee Shade says happy birthday to her husband. Kevin Redacted, he'll be celebrating tomorrow, December 17th. Sir Christoph Baron of Buckeye says happy birthday to his dad. We'll be visiting him in Switzerland. He turns 90 on December 19th. And Dan Pinkerton says happy birthday to his daughter Brittany. She'll be turning 21, and we say happy birthday to all of you as well from your friends here at the best podcast in the universe. Actually, I'm gonna do the titles first.
Come gather round, douchebag, producer and slave, as we all thank your brothers and sisters who gave, and some of us nights, some of us days, for the titles are a-changing.
Now, we do have our fresh Viscount that we're minting today, but I also believe that we missed two title changes on the last show. We did indeed. Sir Chris Spears becomes the Baron of Buenos Aires. Sir Corwin Underwood becomes the Baron of Southwest Ohio. And today, Sir Joseph, Baron of all of SoCal, becomes Sir Joseph Viscount of all of Southern California. And then we have three knights to handle here today. So get your blade out, John.
Got it.
Good. All right, hit it. Yep. Up on the podium, please, Andy Cantrell, Mike Kleckner, and Mendenhall. Gentlemen, all three of you have supported the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. That gets you a seat here at the round table where we have all the knights and dames, and you get to have a cool knight name, so I am very proud to pronounce the KB. Sir Andy Cantrell, the old school lefty of Terrigal Beach. Sir Mike of Ewing, Black Knight Jim. Mendenhall becomes Sir Dude named Jim, because we forgot him. And for you, gentlemen, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We've got single malt Scotch, English muffins, and butter and honey. We've got redheads and rye, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, and mutton and mead. Please, all of you, head over to noagendanation.com/rings, and Eric the Shill will take your measurements. We'll get that out to you as soon as possible. And again, thank you so much for supporting the No Agenda Show podcast. Another podcast in the UK, a very popular podcast, apparently, which you were discussed on. Did you hear about this? I'm sure. No? I'm sure someone would have sent this to you. They didn't. Well, Stephen Fry, very famous guy. Stephen Fry, very famous Brit.
No, he's very famous.
He hosts a podcast called No Such Thing as Fish. It's one of those British things we'll never understand.
Yeah, it's a classic.
You've heard of this? No Such Thing as Fish?
No, but I said the phraseology is
yes, okay, but it's
classically British.
Okay. So they talked about you. Okay. And do you want to hear it?
Well, I might as well.
Do you know, on the internet, if you click on a naughty site, you might get a whole load of pop-ups. Right? Loads and loads of pop-up things. Oh, you do know that, do you?
Well, I've read about it. My Pornographer's Digest. Yeah.
They're called pornados or porn storms.
Oh.
This is a phrase coined by John C. Dvorak.
Okay. Now, first of all, is this true? Did you claim the porn storm or pornado?
Yeah. I did, but it was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, so... This part is true, but then
this is a phrase coined by John C. Dvorak, who is the nephew of the guy who invented the Dvorak keyboard.
Is this fake news? Is your name John C. Dvorak, nephew of the man who built the Dvorak keyboard?
Well, it's a rumor that has been out there, and I don't make much of a point to just quash it.
Well, if you want to hear the rest of this clip, it's a minute. They go into some other historical stuff, I know it's annoying, but it actually winds up to be very, very funny. And I would like to play it for you. Okay, because you know where they're going, obviously, with the mouse bullshit. But it's interesting to hear. So I know the real story. I know who you are. I know what you've done all your life. You are not just known for being the nephew of the guy who invented the keyboard. As much as I'm not just the MTV guy. So we all know how this goes.
Yeah, but you were an MTV guy. I got nothing to do with the keyboard.
No, but you're one step removed. You're 1 degree of separation from fame. So anyway, so let's continue with this. It becomes very funny.
By John C. Dvorak, who is the nephew of the guy who invented the Dvorak keyboard, which is like a QWERTY keyboard, but it's supposed to be slightly better than a QWERTY keyboard.
That's a step down, isn't it, in father-son invention terms?
Yeah.
Well, Dvorak, he writes a lot about computers, and he said that the reason Apple's Macintosh computer would not be successful is because it uses a pointing device called a mouse, and there is no evidence that people want to use these things.
Which, by the way, in hindsight, I think you're absolutely right. Witness everyone using pens on their tablets, so there's no evidence they wanted to use it. They did when they were forced. I'm really defending you here, John.
And then he wrote
hold on a second. They're quoting from a column I wrote in 1984.
Yes. Yes.
In a newspaper.
Yeah.
So as if I wrote it yesterday.
Oh, it gets better.
30 years later.
It gets better.
it's called a mouse. And there is no evidence that people want to use these things. And then he wrote about Steve Jobs. Maybe when the smoke clears, we will have heard the last of Steve Jobs as guru, seer, visionary. He'll go the way of the pet rock, electric carving knives, silly putty, Tiny Tim, and the three-tone paint job.
That's really rough on Tiny Tim.
a load of not very good products, and then one of the most heart-rending characters in all literature. That's so mean.
Squashed up next to Silly Butt.
I don't think they. Who do they think Tiny? I think they think Tiny Tim is the kid in the Dickens.
Yes, that's who they're referring to. Now, the other thing about that particular mention, that's pretty. It's pretty scandalous because they make it sound as though I wrote this after he died.
Yeah.
I wrote that when John Scully took his job and kicked him out of Apple in the 80s so they've taken that out of context. This is unbelievable that they would be this callous to take this out of context to such an extreme and push it up to the current era as if I wrote that because he died and he's gone, so we don't have to worry about him anymore. That is really needs an apology.
I think you should
bad form.
Bad form.
That's so mean. Squashed up next to Silly Butty.
But they thought it was hilarious. They thought I was just
Hey, John.
I was a British prick.
Hey, John. Are you triggered?
Yeah.
I can only imagine maybe Tiny Tim is something else in America, right?
I guess so.
Probably like a failed product or something.
But it'll go the way of sea monkeys, nasal hair trimmers, and Jude the Obscure. It's just a weird burn.
I hate those a-holes.
But I'm glad they found it amusing.
Don't laugh about my co-host like that, you British twats. I'll teach you a thing or two.
Keep my name out there.
Hey, you know what? As long as it's not your obituary, I think all press is good, baby. Take it.
Good to go.
Take it, baby. It's all good. I found it to be quite mean. I was a little angry for you. Not too much.
Well,
just a little.
It doesn't bother me. Let's put it that way.
I know. You're a big boy. Dvorak. Dvorak.
How come people can't say the Russian pronunciation of the composer?
Yes, quite different.
Okay. Let me play a couple of things here.
Okay, and I'm mindful of your time.
Oh, I've got the thing right in my hand. I want to play this. It's been eating at me. This is the Simon Sinek, a guy, I think a sociologist, writer or something, on cell phone addiction, right? The problem with this is he keeps saying right.
And how come that word didn't show up in our word cloud at the top?
Right?
Right?
If you're sitting at dinner with your friends and you're texting somebody who's not there, that's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, face up or face down, I don't care, that sends a subconscious message to the room that you're just not that important to me right now. Right? That's what happens. And the fact that you cannot put it away is because you are addicted. Right? If you wake up and you check your phone before you say good morning to your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, you have an addiction. And like all addiction, in time, it'll destroy relationships, it'll cost time, and it'll cost money, and it'll make your life worse.
Okay.
Just thought everyone should know that.
I thought we played a longer clip of this guy. I recall this from something.
I didn't want to play. I'm sick of these long clips.
Oh, really?
I got a clip. This is, Trump finally decided he's going to get a new guy, chief of staff. A guy who hates him, but it's fine. He's going to put him in there. And I just like the way the CBS, this is a 1-minute clip, but it's about this guy Mulvaney, the new chief of staff. And they can't even go more than just over a minute before they have to kind of throw in spurious Trump, hate Trump memes. It's just ridiculous.
President Trump has selected his trusted cabinet official Mick Mulvaney as his acting chief of staff. He will replace General John Kelly, who plans to leave by the end of the year. In recent days, the president has denied that he is struggling to fill the crucial White House position. But just today, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie took himself out of the running.
How long support this now? 5 people, really good ones.
One reason for the lack of interest may be the growing legal woes facing the president. Speaking for the first time since being sentenced to 3 years in prison, President Trump's former personal attorney Michael Cohen said today he followed a bad path when he arranged hush money payments during the 2016 campaign.
I'm angry at myself because I knew what I was doing was wrong.
President Trump has denied the payments to former Playboy model Karen McDougal and porn star Stormy Daniels were made to help his campaign. But Cohen says the president was worried about their allegations of extramarital affairs.
So yes, he was very concerned about how this would affect the election.
I would like to say something about that. I read all the documents about Cohen, the president's lawyer. And a couple of things stood out. One is he does not actually have a deal, a classic flip deal with the special counsel, the special prosecutor, with Mueller. It specifically states in the documentation that he does not. It's like a K5 letter or some technical term. He does not have that. So there's no like real flipping that went on. But also, the way it's described, and this is the Southern District of New York, which is very different. This is what's happening to Cohen here is not the Mueller investigation. This is the Southern District of New York where the financial crimes take place. And this guy, he had like $20 million bank loans that he lied about and all this taxi medallion crap. And so they go through all that stuff, which is the majority of it. And these are tax crimes, which, you get punished severely for cheating on your taxes in America. We have an honor system. When you mess up, you get caught, or if whatever happens, you can definitely go to jail. These guys have guns. I've dealt with them. They're not nice, in my opinion. And then at the end there's the campaign finance violations, which are described in the documents as very, very egregious crimes against, although again, it's from the Southern District of New York, so it may just be opinion. I'm not sure what that means for them, what their jurisdiction is. But they see that as at least 30 months should just be for those crimes alone because it was defrauding the United States. In the only place where this showed up a little bit was in his interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. What a whoa, way to go, George, you got the boy. And here they do kind of just say, well, it's not really, it has nothing to do with anything, really.
The truth is, I told the truth. I took responsibility for my action.
Well, here comes the quote of the week.
And instead of him taking responsibility for his actions, what does he do? He attacks my family.
He says, his claim, you're lying about him to protect your wife, to protect your father-in-law.
Inaccurate. He knows the truth. I know the truth. Others know the truth. And here is the truth. The man doesn't tell the truth.
Nailed it!
And it's sad that I should take responsibility for his dirty deeds.
Cohen is cooperating with Special Counsel Robert Mueller in his Russia investigation. And separately, federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York have implicated but not charged the president in those deals. They allege Cohen acted in coordination with and at the direction of Trump, according to court filings. Trump tweeted that he never directed Michael Cohen to break the law.
If it were true that the president was just an unwitting client who'd been advised badly by a lawyer, could be a defense. Problem is that according to Michael Cohen, Donald Trump made the deal himself with American media. At this point, the president is effectively an unindicted co-conspirator.
There it is. Okay, well, yes.
Well, one of the problems with the logic of all this is that Trump, Cohen is a criminal lawyer, and that's not deniable. And so whatever Trump says, this guy's a crook. I was working with, I didn't know he's going to be indicted and thrown in jail for 3 years. And what are you blaming me for? And the fact is, Cohen is a crook. So I think Trump will get out of this.
Well,
if Cohen was off, and unless Cohen has it on tape, which he might, but there's no evidence of that because it would have been brought out.
Just the whole thing to me is very interesting because, I think a lot of people in the media really don't understand the difference from where this is coming from, what it's about. And Trump may very well be in trouble for this. I don't know. The Southern District of New York is very clear. They find this to be a huge.
Napolitano thinks he might be.
Yeah, I mean, and when you read the docs,
doesn't.
Yeah, but when you read it, it's like, wow, that's pretty serious. And I will say the timing of it. I didn't know this. The timing of it is right after the grab her by the pussy tape came out. That was a couple weeks before the election. And it was right after that these payments took place. So, yeah, I would say that is defrauding the United States government from something we kind of knew. But, if you want to look at it black and white, like, yeah, we didn't want anyone to know he's a douchebag. Well, I guess, yeah, then in that case.
He was a douchebag.
Yeah, but so he was trying to hide it. And I think, there's a case to be made that is defrauding the American people. Now, the severity of it is something else, but I think he's in more trouble than he thinks. Oh, I'm using the think a lot. I posit he's in a lot more trouble. From. I know, it's all me. You're I'm think.
I'm you're think.
Yeah, no, I'm think here.
I think.
You know who really knows what to think? It's Maxine Waters.
All of the descriptions of what would happen if we move to impeach Trump are basically excuses. Excuses because, maybe they don't want to fail at it. Maybe they believe that Trump will cause a revolt. You talk about violence, and they accuse others of violence. This president basically said, if you move to impeach me, my people are going to revolt. And maybe some of that is resonating with, the senators, the members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, but they are derelict in their responsibility. The Constitution gives us the responsibility to impeach a president and others in government if, in fact, they are guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, which we define. I believe that this president is dangerous. I think he has undermined our democracy. I think he's aligned himself with the enemy, with Putin. He loves dictators. He has literally undone some of the good public policy that has been created for the safety of the citizens of this country. And I believe that he certainly qualifies for impeachment. We may never get it done. And maybe Democrats fear that somehow if we move to impeach him, maybe his base will grow larger. I don't think so. I think they're going to shrink. I think that base is going to shrink because they're going to see who this president really is. He's talking about closing down the government. He's going to hurt some of the very people he claims to want to support. Many of these people are just workers out there, people who living on their paychecks day to day. And I want you to know they cannot afford to have their paychecks cut off because this president is going to close down the government. He deserves to be impeached.
Wow. She just goes on a rant. By the way, the grab by the pussy thing was 1 month, not a week before.
No, I thought it was 2 weeks. It was 1 month? Oh.
1 whole month, October 7th.
Okay. Well, still. It was one. I thought it was 2 weeks. All right. 1 month. It doesn't matter because the Washington Post knows exactly how this is going to play out. I mean, it's very obvious. It's an easy trick. He'll never have to go to jail ever.
EJ is exactly right. That is a guidance. It's never been litigated. I don't know that the Trump Justice Department is going to test it. I also don't think that Trump can pardon himself. And if he tries that, and that's his only mechanism, he risks being prosecuted after he leaves office. For that very reason, I would predict here on MSNBC that when Trump leaves office, he will resign the presidency 10 minutes before Mike Pence leaves office.
Already?
I've never played this.
I thought I had it on the last show before. This is the Rubin woman. Who
I don't think we played it.
The supposed. Oh, okay. Well, this is Jennifer Rubin, the supposed conservative blogger who's a radical left winger for the Washington Post. This is her prediction. It's idiotic.
He will resign the presidency 10 minutes before Mike Pence leaves office, allowing Pence to pardon him if there is not a Republican president to follow him.
Wow, we got that on tape. And also, when you accept the pardon, you have to accept the level of guilt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So let's keep that in mind. My panel will be right back. Up next, Who Won the Week?
Oh, yeah, guilt. But the best accusation against the president is a new one from a comedian who used to work with Trump.
Okay, this would be good.
Noel Kassler.
Oh, never heard of him.
Well, he makes some interesting allegations.
So I work in live television. I've done that for the last 20 years. I work in TV production in the talent departments, taking care of all the performers. It's kind of like herding cats, if cats had publicists and massive egos. I did 6 seasons of the Celebrity Apprentice finale. Oh, yeah, you can see where this is going. My job was taking care of the Trump family, too. Yeah, Don Jr., Omarosa, Melania. It was like a freaking Mensa meeting every day. I really like you guys now. That's my favorite joke. I'm going to tell you one more thing I don't usually tell. I'll tell you 2 more things. Since you're being so nice to me. He's a speed freak. He crushes up his Adderall and he sniffs it because he can't read, so he gets really nervous when he has to read cue cards. I'm not kidding. This is true. I had a 24-page NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I didn't know then he was becoming president. Now it's, no way, dumbass. I'm telling you everything I know. So he gets nervous and he crushes up these pills. That's why he's sniffing when you see him in debates and when you see him reading. That's why he's tweeting. You know, it's like he's out of his mind. It makes sense if you think about it. Methamphetamine was invented by the Nazis to keep the fighter pilots up all night on bombing runs, right? So it makes sense that Trump would use it to hate tweet and a self-centered rage at 4 a.m. on a toilet. Right.
Wow. I had not expected that.
I didn't hear anything about this. This is good.
Yeah, that he crushes up his Adderall and he snorts it whenever he has to read. And that's why he's, you know? But that's dangerous. This guy's already hyperkinetic. If he's snorting meth, I mean, that his head could blow up. Orange man bad.
Combination of amphetamines.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't had a heart attack.
He's listening to the podcast at 18 times speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys, no agenda. Yeah, I listened to their whole show 3 hours and 30 minutes.
So I picked up this piece. Unfortunately, there's no good reporting or clips on it, but I have the printouts of the latest trends in baby names.
Ah, yes. In which region?
USA.
Okay.
Apparently, the baby name trends in 2018 were mostly pop culture World Cup names like Faye, Felix, Fern. Who's going to name their kid Fern? But okay, some people. Apparently, F is inching up, they say. But the biggest trends of 2019 is dubbed global, the global names. As the world gets small, this is part of the globalization. We're going to have globalize our names. The pool of names becomes larger with new names from ever diverse origins entering the global lexicon, the report noted. Monikers under the global trend include names from Greece, South America, Korea, India, and Israel. And these names include, ready for these names?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Acacius.
Wait, Acacius with an A?
With an A.
What is Acacius?
Acacius.
Mm-hmm.
Aroha.
Aroha? Wait a minute. Aroha?
Aroha?
Like sayonara? Aroha.
It's a Japanese.
Yeah. We get the joke. Aroha.
Aroha. Cyrene. Jeddah. Kiran. Kiran. Lautaro. Lautaro. Lior, Lior, Niabi, Niabi, Sena, Sena, and Walken, as in Christopher Walken.
Huh.
And then we go back to the names in boys and girls. Back, if you go just as far back as 2017, you get these names, which we have seen these. So these other ones are going to show up. But a new trend is non-binary names. Oh, I'm sorry. These are current trends. Non-binary names that are gender neutral.
Mm.
This means no names that end in son, like Madison, or names that were originally boy or girl names that have migrated to the other side, such as Charlie. These names include. These are the names coming up that for your gender neutral baby. Briar.
What with a Bravo with a B?
Yeah, B.
Briar. Mm-hmm.
Campbell, Finley, Finley seems like a boy's name to me, but I can see a girl named Finley.
Sure.
Finley, you here? Journey, which I would give me a break. Justice, not Justin, Justice. Laken, Laken, Revel, Revel, Robin, which could be a boy or a girl. Royal, which I've known people, older guys named Royal, and Story.
Story?
Yeah, Story. My name's Story. I'm Story. And then finally, this last list is the Eastern religions seem to have been creeping in. So you're going to hear names as, and by the way, these are the result of how mainstream yoga, meditation, and non-traditional spiritualism have become part of the mainstream. And so you're going to get names like this: Ashira, Bodhi, Bodhi, Kali, which I believe is a god, Lakshmi, Laks.
Well, there's a Lakshmi Singh on NPR. She does the news. I'm Lakshmi Singh. I can't remember.
There you go. That's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from.
Manu.
Yeah, Manu from Manu. That's Macron. Emmanuel Macron. Manu. They call him Manu. Yeah, Manu.
Osiris. Raiden. Raiden.
What, no one's called Odocta? Come on.
Rama, which is, there's a lot of Ramas.
Yeah.
Tanith. And the name, I can't believe this one, Zen.
Z Echo November?
Yeah.
Zen.
Yeah.
What happened to names like Bambi and Raven? I mean, come on, people.
Well, Bambi and Raven, they were at the disco when it burnt down. I'm
33.
thinking, what's wrong with Adam and John and Charles?
There's enough Adams. There's a lot of Adam Currys out there.
I think there's a lot of Adams.
Yes.
Was at one time John, Adam, and a few of these others were the most popular names ever. Yeah. Edward, I think, is one of them too. They don't. No. You got to name your kid, Moonbeam or Dipshit or something like Moonbeam. That. It's a better name.
I'd like Aruba. What is it? Aroha.
Aroha.
Aroha is still the way to go.
My name's Aroha. And here we have coming to you is Aroha Dvorak.
I'd like to close this out with 2 Yellow Vest updates. I'd like to start with yours from PBS, as this is not stopping. Throughout Europe, it is bubbling under. The news media is not really talking about it because they can't. They can't. So let's see what PBS says.
The Yellow Vest protests in France entered their 5th straight weekend today as marchers called for more government reforms. In Paris, there were fewer protesters than on past weekends. Almost 70,000 police mobilized throughout the country. The government had called for a suspension of protests following Tuesday's attack on a market in the city of Strasbourg. Today's protesters did hold a minute of silence to mourn the 4 victims of that attack.
Did you see the list that they actually want? They have a list.
No, I have not.
Oh, yes, they have a list of demands. This is why it's not stopped, because this is not just about the carbon tax.
No, they've fed up.
I'm going to run down. 0 homelessness. Income tax more progressive, which means more slices. Minimum wage for growth. 1,300 euros net per month. Promote small business, villages, and city centers. Stop the construction of large commercial areas around big cities that kill small business. Large insulation plan for housing, ecological savings. Make big people pay big money. So that's Google, Amazon, Crossroads is what they're saying. Same system of social security for all. The pension system must remain in solidarity and socialized. End of tax increase on fuel. No pension below 1,200 euros. Any elected representative will have the right to a median salary. His transport costs will be monitored and reimbursed if they are justified. The wages of all French people, as well as pensioners and allowances, must be indexed to inflation. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Let me see what else. Jobs that are created for the unemployed, sure, magic. Increase in disabled benefits, limitation of rents and low-rent housing, prohibition to sell property belonging to France, like airports and dams, substantial means granted to justice, all money earned by highway tolls should be used for maintenance of motorways and roads. I mean, there's at least 100 different demands.
Well, good. Do they have the one I think I would demand?
What's that?
That all airplanes carrying passengers should charge the passenger by their weight.
No, they don't have that. I do have a Voice of America version of the story. Now, Voice of America, you have to understand, is put together by the Broadcast Board of Governors. It's a propaganda arm of the United States State Department. It is 100% propaganda, so fun to listen to their version of the Paris protest. This is from actually about a week ago, but there's a little fun little gotcha in here so you can understand where the State Department is with their head.
Here in the United States, the U.S. president has weighed in over the weekend about the situation with some interesting tweets, and France's foreign minister apparently telling him to butt out. It's not really clear what the president meant, President Trump tweeting about Paris Agreement not working out well and that people there are chanting, "We want Trump." In response, France's foreign minister Sunday telling Mr. Trump to basically not interfere in French politics, that we don't do that to American politics. What do you know about that?
Well, what I can tell you is that I was at the Champs-Élysées around the...
And by the way, she is a cushy job at the Champs-Élysées working for the Voice of America, and I just do my little report.
Well, what I can tell you is that I was at the Champs-Élysées around the Arc de Triomphe for many hours during the protests on Saturday, and I did not hear one person say, "We want Donald Trump." In fact, I didn't even hear anyone talk about Donald Trump. The question of Donald Trump saying that this demonstration was all about the Paris Climate Agreement, it has nothing to do with the Paris Climate Agreement. It's actually a demonstration of people talking about wanting their dignity, being able to live on money that they earn and having respect for that. So I don't know where that came from.
Just so you know, it's not all about carbon taxes at all. According to, yeah, that's what she just said.
This is lies.
Well, it's Voice of America. It's American lies.
Yeah, well, I guess our lies are good.
They are very good.
They serve a purpose.
And that's the truth about the truth, is when he was telling the truth, he wasn't telling the truth.
No.
And that's the truth. And that's how we roll, everybody. Big foam finger number one. You know where it's coming from. That's right. Downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, where I reside. In FEMA region number 6, in the 5x9 Cludio in the Common Law condo. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I count the number of cars on a train. It's exciting here. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday with another edition of the No Agenda Show podcast, the best podcast in the universe. Please remember us for that at Dvorak.org/NA. That is how our value for values system works. Until then... Adios,
Political and electoral organizing, but we have completely altered young people.
60 to 100 text messages a day.
Working to build an army of young people.
Right wing came after me. I had to resign under fire.
Country have altered what is completely altered, transformed.
Just adolescents and young adults.
Right wing came after me.
The first breath on
this
They've been propagandized, and this is how it works.
Political and electoral organizing. But we have completely altered the of young people to stop climate change.
I had a job in the White House to try to implement it.
And I said, this is how it works.
Right wing came after me.
Altered what is...
Text sleep. Warrenly, the texting
came after me. I had to resign under fire.
Really? How do you text for sleeping?
Really? Altered.
Right wing came after me.
And create millions of good jobs for an army of young people.
Wing came after me. I had to resign under fire.
But what about at night when they're sleeping?
Altered has climate.
Texting does sleeping.
Rewriting history, Van.
We seem to actually
text sleeping.
Possible and feasible in
I talked about 9/11 truthers.
At witnessing so much political stagnation, turned younger action on the issue of climate change.
The White House, a big part of Obama's agenda was
an action issue.
carry my luggage, no matter where I chose to roam. I'm dreaming of a white privilege that comes from skin as fair as mine. Bring back racist apartheid. May all your privilege be wide. I'm dreaming of a white privilege like the one they say I show. With my microaggressions makes their teardrops glisten as all the snowflakes they run home. I'm dreaming of my white privilege with every SJW I find. Bring the fascists and alt-right. And may all your privilege be wide.
The best podcast in the universe.
Yes, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA